doing the Liz Murrill.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do you want me to proceed on case number? We're just talking about SCOTUS.
She argued in front of the Supreme Court this week. That's not something that happens every day, so I figured it was kind of important to talk to her. So yeah, Liz Murrill from the Attorney General's office joins us to talk about the experience.
How do you spell the last person's name? Is it Steplen or Stephen?
Stephen, Stephen. Sorry.
Okay. Midway.
Yes. I forgot to print that email. How long do I have?
Like a minute and a half. 2 minutes.
run down at the break to get it off the printer. .606 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Good morning, everyone. Brian here with you. Jake producing. We call it Mornings with Brian Haldane. We are off and running on this Friday. Oh, man. Okay, so a lot of changes in the lineup today. A lot of moving parts today. A lot of ground we got to get to. And a lot of reason to watch the show on YouTube today as well. Here's a rundown for you. We're going to talk with Liz Murrill. She is with the Attorney General's office. We're going to talk with her at 6:50. Got the chance to argue in front of the Supreme Court, talking about the vaccine mandate, the president's vaccine mandate that got shot down. Well, Liz was an integral part of that and wanted to talk about the experience. Not every day, right? Not every day you get to be in front of the Supreme Court of the United States. She did, so she'll come on and share it with us. How's that work out? How's it work within it? I mean, is it like a total pressure cooker? Stay in your lane, stay within the law, don't work on emotion, work on fact, like just the whole experience. I want to talk about the whole experience. That's at 6:50. In our 7 o'clock hour, inflation continues to rise. This is putting pressure on small business in Louisiana. It's putting pressure on small business everywhere. I wanted to reach out to Dawn McVea from NFIB, the National Federation for Independent Business, to get a little feedback here. What are we looking at? What's the breaking point here? We're talking about small business, mom and pop shops, you know? We're talking about small business that has managed its way through the pandemic up until now. We're talking about small business that has gone to great lengths to make sure that, you know, they're not letting any more people go than they absolutely have to amidst the pandemic, and then having problems getting employees back on the job when there's other benefits just to stay home. And then once those benefits run out, people can start to get back to work. Ooh, check it out. The next surge rolls in. And on top of that, now, inflation. The smaller businesses are taking it on the chin continually. And I wanted to talk with Dawn to see, is there a breaking point? Not only for small businesses to just say, hey, volume-wise, I can't compete with the big boys. Price-wise, I can't compete with the big boys. I'm just going to hang it up. Or the flip side of that, is there a break in the clouds? Is there a point where they're able to turn the corner and get things moving in the right direction? We will talk with Dawn McVea at 7:15. 7:35 this morning, Councilwoman Laurie White-Adams is going to join me. Talking with Laurie about this week's Metro Council meeting. A lot went down. Whole lot went down. For example, if you're riding a bicycle, you can go to Burger King. If you're riding a bicycle, you can pull up in a Raising Cane's. If you're in a wheelchair, you can go to Jack in the Box. If you were just straight up walking, you can hit Chick-fil-A. Drive-thrus now have to accept people who are riding bicycles, in wheelchairs, or just straight up pedestrians. Do we have to call them something different now? One of the many items that the Metro Council covered Wednesday night, I'm making fun of it because on its face it sounds stupid. In reality, there's reason for it. And that reason is you can't walk inside to a lot of these places. So you're left with no other option. We'll talk with that. We'll also talk about the latest council appointment as District 5 has an interim council person. Going to take us up over the next 2 months through March 26th, I believe, is the election. We'll talk with Laurie White-Adams at 7:35. In our 8 o'clock hour, we've got audio from Governor John Bel Edwards' press conference yesterday. He talked about Omicron, the latest variant, where we're at in the surge. Are we going to see an end to this before Mardi Gras? Is a mask mandate right around the corner? Is a mask mandate right around the corner? What about a vaccine mandate for state workers? All of that's coming your way at 8:15. Then at 8:35, actually 8:40 this morning, let me throw out this term, and you just see where we're at with it, excuse me. Were sharks. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You know when the full moon is out, the werewolves come out? You know when the full moon comes out, the Rougarou comes out? There's a new study, and LSU's at the forefront on this one. There is a new study that says shark attacks at night are influenced by lunar activity. How would that work with a were shark? I know we're not talking about a human turning into a shark. I realize that. Laugh on a Friday morning, for crying out loud. Could a shark howl at the moon? What does that sound like? Dr. Stephen Midway from LSU is going to come on. There's actually a lot of really good science behind this, and it's interesting to see it taken on because, quite honestly, most shark attacks are during the day. Anyway, we'll close out the on-air version of the show with that on YouTube. Senator Bill Cassidy is going to join us at 9:05 this morning. Got the chance to I never passed up a chance to talk with Senator Cassidy, and he had availability in the 9 o'clock hour, so you will hear him here at 9:05. You'll hear him not long after that on the Brian Kilmeade show. Oh, by the way, on air, if you don't want to check it out on YouTube, while I highly recommend checking it out on YouTube, it's probably going to be recorded for playback later on. So if you miss it here today on our YouTube channel, which, by the way, Mornings with Brian Haldane is the YouTube channel, go ahead and subscribe while you're there. If you miss it today, you can catch it probably next week. All right. I wanted to start off with the Omicron variant. Apparently, I guess the latest Tide Pod challenge is folks saying we're going to go ahead and get Omicron on purpose just to get it over with. You know, that's not that unheard of. When I was growing up, back in my day, when I was growing up, a lot of parents wanted their kids to get chickenpox on purpose. Well, it turns out you get chickenpox, you get shingles with you for the rest of your life, but that's neither here nor there. The governor, one of the many things he talked about was sounding off on why that's just a very, very bad idea. Also, when we're looking at this variant versus not the Delta variant, but the surge we had coming out of the holidays last year, Omicron, it has a bigger impact. It's taking a bigger toll. Doesn't mean it's more dangerous. It's just more voluminous. It's more viral. It's more widespread. And from just a hardcore numbers game, you have more people get the virus, you're going to have more people in the hospital. Smaller percentage, to be sure. Way smaller percentage, to be sure. But it's still reaching the overwhelming point. Oh, we're way late for a break. Okay, let's go ahead and break. Come back. LSU women's basketball was at it last night. You heard it right here on Talk 107.3 FM, and you will hear how it played out next. Did I have a live there? Okay, I'll do it on the way back in. Oh, man. So Kevin McCarthy, while ducking subpoenas, had time to quote tweet Congresswoman Julia Letlow yesterday. R.I.P. my mentions. Jeez. Enjoyed joining Brian Haldane on Talk 107.3 in Baton Rouge this morning to talk about the Parents' Bill of Rights and the common sense principles contained in this legislation. And it's attached to a 1-minute clip the Congresswoman posted along with it. Like 50 some odd comments later. Everybody, just about everybody who commented about the January 6th Commission. So I come back with a quote tweet of, dun, 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 dun. Listen all the way up to the question on the January 6th Commission with a link to the full interview. For those of you who were here yesterday, there was no question on the January 6th Commission, which is why it's hilarious to me that a soundbite about the Parents' Bill of Rights is just surrounded in or engulfed in nothing but, and I mean nothing but, comments about the January 6th Commission and Kevin McCarthy. Whatever. .817 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. It is sports time, and we got to dive right into what was on the air on Talk 107.3 last night. Kim Mulkey and her LSU women's Tiger basketball team taking on Missouri. Now, if you were following along with the game, it was 24-18 LSU at the end of the first quarter. Then it was 44-33 at halftime. LSU kind of in command, right? Well, Missouri came back strong in the second half. Outscored LSU 24-18 in the third. Outscored LSU 22-17 in the fourth. It went to overtime. And this is how the last 54 seconds of that overtime sounded. It's in your email. Never mind. We'll get past it. LSU outscores Missouri 8-6 in overtime to pull out an 80. You got it? Okay. Here's how the last 54 seconds sounded.
Cherry will inbound. She will hand it to Pointer with 12. Back to Cherry, right wing. Cherry at the top, Pointer to the lane, to the hole, layup. Good! It's good! 5 seconds to go. You got to defend.
Got to defend. Stop the ball.
Inbounds
Who's got the ball?
Tim Belly inside the arc to the bucket. Layup is blocked. Ball game is over. LSU wins. Morris gets the block, and LSU on a Pointer layup with 5 seconds to go survives overtime in the Mirovich Center. 87-85 is your final.
Oh my goodness.
Dembella had a run to the bucket, but it was Morris who came in there and blocked the layup. And LSU figures out a way to win another one.
Kayla Pointer leads the way last night with 21 points, including that basket. Jalen Cherry had 20, Alexis Morris 17, Faustina Fua 15. Head coach Kim Mulkey after the game talking about that last minute or those last 15-second sequence.
Well, she did and finished it, right?
Yep.
I can't tell you that I drew that up. That's a senior that wants to win a ball game and is not afraid to go in there and take the shot. I thought all of our kids, they weren't afraid to shoot it. They weren't afraid to, take that last shot. And in order for us to win the game tonight, you had to have that mentality.
This is not the best team in women's college basketball by any stretch. And in women's college basketball, there is not a whole lot of parity. But this is going to be a fun and exciting team to ride the wave with all the way up until they hit their breaking point. The action continues noon Sunday. The Tigers will be hosting Vanderbilt. You'll hear it right here on Talk 107.3 FM. Patrick Wright will be on the call. Or just go out to the PMAC and watch him. We'll talk about the men's team next. Is that the Fox Business Report?
Core TV.
Okay.
Kill it for 10 seconds. Now hit it. There we go. Sorry about that, by the way. I didn't see it.
The
I just thought for a second all I have is the multiple.
Okay. I'm guessing it was on Core TV because of the press conference yesterday. Not real sure.
Yeah, it says Core TV on remote 2. I have 17, 18, and 19 ready.
Cool. Who is this?
That's the only cuts you want, right? Just send anything there, please.
Until 8:15. Did I email you the Governor Edwards cuts?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Referring to the segment.
Yeah. Kevin says, good morning. Going with a little mood lighting, I see. So I'm told that I'm too white. I mean, no, not like, in a social way. Just like I drown myself out with my my lack of pigment when the lights are too high. Although you can't see, I look like a disembodied head. No offense to this story out of New Orleans. Maybe I'm the missing head from the body that was found in the freezer.
Come on.
Come
on, man.
Well, look at the screen.
No, the background matches perfectly with what you're wearing.
I know. I'm just like I'm like a floating head.
You're wearing the invisibility
All right, you know what?
cloak around the neck.
I don't care how white I am.
Embrace it. Oh God.
Sorry, can't run a man without music. Walk-ups, armed robbery. What? It would be a missed opportunity if Jake doesn't lead the shark story with Mac the Knife, right? Better than Baby Shark, for sure. Morning, Clint. Are you reading that Twitter Ganda again? Yo, you damn well better believe it. Morning, Renee. Renee says there's an echo. Is there an... All right, let's... Damn well better believe it. Morning, Renee. Renee says there's an echo. Not hearing it. It might be on the audio. I don't know. We'll see. Let it play out. Renee, more specifics. Oh, morning, Christy. Welcome in, sweetheart. Sorry. 623 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. One of those mornings where there's way more sports than there is time for a sports segment, so we roll it over to a second segment. And this is a big one as we're coming up on playoff time, which we'll get to in just a minute. Told you about the LSU women in the last segment. LSU men, 1 p.m. tomorrow, taking on Arkansas. Arkansas comes in at 11-5 overall, which sounds impressive, averaging 80 points per game, which sounds impressive, giving up 70 per game, which would be 10 points less, which would be why they're 11-5. Shooting at 46% from the floor, pulling down 38 rebounds a game. All these things sound good, but I hate reading back stats in the first portion of conference play. Because all those numbers you just heard, they're against nobodies. Arkansas is 1-3 in conference right now, and they're going to come into the Maravich Assembly Center without their head coach. I have no idea if it's going to be one of those scenarios where if you're missing the head coach, the team's going to be in disarray, or if you're missing the head coach and the team's going to rally. No way to know that ahead of time, right? But they're 1-3 in conference, which ought to tell you something. Oh, by the way, I told you Arkansas is averaging 80 points per game, LSU's averaging 76. That sounds like it would be less, but remember, you're talking about a different level of competition. How much are you giving up? Well, if Arkansas is giving up 70 per game, LSU's only giving up 56, which tells you Arkansas's margin of victory is 10, average margin of victory is 10, where LSU's is closer to 20. Arkansas shooting 46% from the floor, LSU 45. Arkansas is pulling down 38 rebounds, LSU 41 per game. 1 p.m. tomorrow in the Maravich Assembly Center. You will hear it on our sister station, Eagle 98.1, as Chris Blair will be on the call. Also this weekend, the NFL playoffs get underway. Former LSU quarterback Joe Burrow making his NFL playoff debut on Saturday when the Bengals host the Raiders to kick off the NFL's wild card weekend. Burrow led Cincinnati to its first AFC North championship since 2015 and is getting a lot of credit for Cincy's turnaround, but Burrow says he's playing with the best group of receivers in the NFL.
I mean, T is big, strong, fast. Jamar never gets tackled, and TB might not be an athletic freak show, but he's a really, really good receiver that gets open when he needs to and understands coverages and being able to get open over the middle. But I think our trio of guys, I'll take every single one of them over anybody in the league.
Yeah, and anybody who plays fantasy football could back that up. It was infuriating during the season to start Jamar Chase and see T. Higgins get 3 touchdowns, or to start T. Higgins and see Tyler Boyd put it in the end zone a couple times. Stick with the tried and true. Stick with Burrow to Chase. Obviously, it's going to pay off more times than not. But there were days. And don't forget about C.J. Uzomah in the tight end spot. So as for Jamar Chase, he set an NFL record with the most receiving yards for a rookie. You know whose record he broke? Justin Jefferson's. Chase said after he was drafted he would break records, and he says he meant it.
It's just saying that I could do anything I put my mind to, and I came into the season trying to do exactly that, and I achieved a lot of stuff that I wanted to do this year. Still got a lot more to do. Hopefully I could break some playoff records.
Hey, Jake, when were you born?
I was born in 98.
98.
Yes.
7 years prior to that, 1991, was the last time the Bengals won a playoff game. I mean, put that in perspective. 1991. George Herbert Walker Bush was still president. We weren't even to the Clinton era yet. Was the last time the Bengals won a playoff game. Burrow says he's not bothered by this.
We're aware of it, but we're not really thinking about it. We're a really young team that Jamar probably didn't know about that until one of you guys told him. Like, we have really young players that usually aren't from here that don't really understand the history. So we're going in with the mindset of doing whatever it takes to win this game, and that's what we're going to go try to do.
So the Bengals will play the Raiders on Saturday. I tell you what, I wanted to do this, so I dug it up last night. Nobody, and I mean nobody, in Baton Rouge should be pulling for the Green Bay Packers in the playoffs. Why? Because the Green Bay Packers are the only team in the NFL playoffs without an LSU Tiger. Want to run down the rosters? Fine, let's do that. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Thaddeus Moss, Tyler Shelvin, all on the Bengals. For the Raiders, one Foster Moreau. Patriots, Devon Gottschall and Jalen Mills. They'll be taking on the Bills with Tre'Davious White and Reed Ferguson. Over on the NFC side, the Eagles with Jacoby Stevens and Kerry Vincent Jr. are taking on the Bucks, even though he's hurt. Leonard Fournette, Cyril Grayson, Kevin Minter, Devin White, Rashard Robinson, all repping LSU in Tampa Bay. 49ers have Arden Key. The Cowboys have Lyle Collins and Jabril Cox. The Steelers have Trey Turner. The Chiefs, of course, we know Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Darrell Williams, and Tyrann Mathieu. For the Cardinals, it's Rashard Lawrence. For the Rams, Odell Beckham Jr. and Andrew Whitworth. The Titans have Torrey Carter, Racey McMath, and Christian Fulton, and the Packers have none. So if you want to see an LSU Tiger bringing home a Super Bowl ring, do not root for the Packers. It's just that simple. Outside of that, somebody's getting some hardware in some way, shape, or form. There's going to be a ton of NFL action on our sister station 104.5 over the weekend as well, and throughout the playoffs. So if you want to follow that, you'll have either Westwood One's coverage or whoever the coverage is coming from this weekend. All right, we got news coming your way in just a minute. I do have to remind you about the folks over at Mathern's. Hey, if you're getting together a little watch party, getting together a little backyard tailgate to watch some NFL football, some playoff action over the weekend, Mathern's is a great stop-off for you to grab a couple six-packs of beer. Maybe grab some of those local craft beers. Mathern's beer section is comparable to anybody's in town, if not better than. And oh, by the way, it is carnival season, so grab yourself a king cake or 3. Get an original, get a cream cheese, get a praline, get one of those chocolate king cakes. They are phenomenal, and it is, of course, a full-service grocery store. Downtown on 3rd Street. Grab a king cake before you leave work this evening. Downtown on 3rd Street or Nicholson at Skip Burtman Drive in the Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center right across the street from Tiger Stadium. Mathern's Market, they're here for you for, like I said, all your groceries, but stocking up for the weekend as well. If you're watching NFL football, if you're watching General Wade and his crew, however you're getting down, you need to start off with Mathern's. Here comes CBS News. Bing bong. Eric says when you were talking about the drive-thrus, bro, your memory sucks. It's like I'm saying everything twice. Oh. She says, sorry, it was my computer. I had you open on 2 windows. Yeah, right? Yeah, open it on like 8 windows and just mute 7 of them. Right. Can you I don't, it doesn't count twice, by the way. No, if you'd have to be logged in under different names. Originally, yes. Oh, I'll be right back. I got to run downstairs to the printer.
Hello there. Happy Friday. Y'all having a good day so far? I know it's just probably started for y'all. It's about 6:33, but I hope everyone's having a good day so far. And if not, I hope it gets better. Happy Friday. I'll catch you for this day in history or whenever Brian wants me back on, but I will catch y'all later. Later.
It's a marvelous night for a movie. Huh. What do you mean? No.
It's like this report is brought to you by Chavez, and then they cut that with another audio, and it's somebody else being like, "What do you forget?" And maybe he's talking about different tires.
Oh, so I think it's the same guy, but from a different recording. The regular Shaw Bills tag is just the name, and then whatever the deals are change every month, so we can keep it up to date, so folks can know what they're getting.
Also, you had hope at 22. I don't know if you wanted me to tell you.
I do.
anybody coming for this? We're just talking about the LA Marathon.
I'm just talking about the LA Marathon.
Sounds good, sir.
'Shoot, I gotta go. Oh, nuts. .637 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. All right, so you heard the forecast from Marissa Nuzzo right there. That is leading us up to the weekend. What is the weekend going to look like here in Baton Rouge? Well, it is marathon weekend. I'm sorry, y'all. You can tell by looking at me, I'm not a marathon runner. I mean, seriously. 5K is one of the goals for 2022, but marathon is a whole different paint job on things. Anyway, it is marathon weekend, and that brings a lot of people to town. We heard from Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser about this yesterday. We heard from Patrick Fellows about this earlier on. I think it's about 2 weeks ago. But the weekend is finally upon us. To me, this is one of those weekends in Baton Rouge that Baton Rouge should just be hyped about. We get to put our best foot forward for a new group of people coming to town. Now, it's not as many people as would be coming for, say, an LSU football game. But this is something that can be a rallying cry for Baton Rouge, can be a rallying point for Baton Rouge, can bring us together to put our best foot forward. When you look at some of the more popular marathons around the country, there's no reason why the Louisiana Marathon can't compete. Now, you're never going to have the type of reputation of Boston or New York, right? Those are two of the bigger ones. But you can be in that top 10. You don't have to be in the playoff to be in a New Year's Day bowl game. And the Louisiana Marathon can very easily be a New Year's Day bowl game. Here's your rundown of events if you're in the 5K or the 10K or the Kids Fun Run. That's all going down on Saturday. Now, as far as where, my computer's frozen. Awesome. Give me 1 second. I apologize. I'm sorry. Saturday, you've got the Kids Fun Run, the quarter marathon, the 5K, and the, I guess the quarter marathon is the 10K. I'm sorry. I'm trying to do this off of memory because I don't have it on my screen in front of me. Sunday is the half marathon and the big marathon. Now, everything starts downtown, starts close to the state capitol, and you'll find your map or course, I should say, when you get down there. But Sunday's really the big day, as the marathon starts at 7 a.m. Let me know on YouTube. Do you live along the route? Do you throw a little tailgate party for the marathon? It's actually kind of a cool thing. It's weird that it's different. It's kind of like a parade, where every so often you'll see somebody just scooching on by. You'll cheer them on. They'll be gone. They'll be on their way, and you'll just wait on the next one. And then the next one, and then the next one, and then the next one. And then it's strange how it kind of grows with, the people who are out front, they don't need a ton of support. They're probably out there, running 2 a year or something like that. They've got all their stats and numbers behind them, trying to set a personal record or whatever, but they know they've got this done. But as you get deeper and deeper and deeper into the crowd, you're seeing the people who are struggling to get there more and more and more.
They've set a ridiculous goal for themselves, and they're on their way to achieving that goal, which is something that should be applauded. So you applaud them as they pass. It's a fun time. By the way, also, earlier this week, we talked with Catherine Childers. Want to remind you one more time that she'll be running in the Louisiana Marathon to support her friend Sergeant Jason Martin. Jason is a sergeant with the Baton Rouge Police Department. You may recall, we talked about this before, August 21st, he was hit by an impaired driver while working a crash on I-12. As a result of that crash, his leg was amputated above the knee. He's got a slew of bills and kids. He's got a slew of bills. He has kids. He doesn't have a slew of kids. He's got 3 kids. He's facing a very long recovery, numerous medical bills. Catherine is raising money to help out with those medical bills. So it's Running for Jason. If you look up Running for Jason on Facebook, you will find out how to help donate. You can pledge a minimum of $1 per mile that Catherine runs. At the conclusion of the run, she just asks that you pay the total amount you pledge directly to Jason. She's taking nothing off the top here. There is no administrative fee. There's no overhead in this. It's just Catherine running, trying to help out. Running for Jason on Facebook. Check it out. One of numerous causes, or numerous folks trying to help out via their feet. So also along with the marathon, you have the Finish Fest, which, as I understand it, not every marathon has. I mean, like we do with everything in Louisiana, we throw down, right? Nice little concert afterwards, little party. Line up, get some beer, some jambalaya. Even if you don't like jambalaya as a Louisianan, you're required to because it's what we do. I don't really care for jambalaya. I don't care that you don't care. Go get it anyway. Those people over there, they're from Delaware. They don't know this. You have to. It's the law. Now, as you heard Marissa talk about, it is going to be cold. Marissa Nuzzo, meteorologist Marissa Nuzzo, as you heard her talk about, it is going to be cold on Sunday. Just how cold, you may ask? Well, it's looking like your overnight low Saturday into Sunday is going to get down to 37, which means 7 a.m. Sunday, race time, that's when we're going to be at our low, temperature-wise. It's going to get back up to 51 as the day wears on, but there's a lot of rain in store for Saturday, 60% chance of rain Saturday. So your 5K, your quarter marathon, and your kids run, probably going to get wet. Then it's going to get windy, and then it's going to get cold. So expect it to be a little bit chilly Sunday if you're cheering the runners on, or if you are one of the runners. It will be very, very cold, to say the least. By the way, right now we're at 47 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge. All right, Liz Murrill from the Attorney General's office is going to join us in our next segment. Right now, though, I got to tell you about an event coming up pretty soon for Hope Ministries. I don't know if you've I've been talking about it all week long, so let me continue that now. We're looking at a worker shortage in Louisiana right now, and there is a way that you can help. It's called Rise LA. Our workforce crisis, it continues to go on. It was exacerbated by the pandemic. Companies are experiencing a revolving door of low to middle income employees. Now, while Louisiana businesses are trying to keep their heads above water, for a lot of those low to middle income employees, those who want to get back in the game, it's a struggle. And they are trying very hard, while businesses are trying to keep their heads above water, they're trying very hard not to drown. So what's the better way? How do we do this better? That's where Rise LA comes in. Learn how Fred Keller, founder and chair of Cascade Engineering, changed the way his company does business. You can get hundreds of employees off of welfare and start raising your profits. Yes, these two things are not mutually exclusive. They can be done at the same time. Learn more at risela.biz, risela.biz. Rise LA, we all rise together. All right, the Supreme Court sounded off yesterday, putting a stop to the COVID-19 vaccine rule. The Biden administration tried to enforce a requirement that employees at large businesses be vaccinated against COVID-19 or undergo weekly testing and wear a mask on the job. Kibosh was put on that. Liz Murrill from Louisiana Attorney General's office had a big part in it. Last time we had Jeff Landry on, and he'll be on again next week. Last time we had Jeff Landry on, he talked about this. We went over the idea of having a vaccine mandate for government contractors and then a vaccine mandate for any company with more than 100 employees. Sounded very arbitrary, felt very arbitrary. Well, turns out the Supreme Court agrees. So what's it like to argue in front of the Supreme Court? We'll talk to Liz next on Talk 107.3. Right now, though, we're due up for a break here. In that break, we will check traffic. In that break, we will check your money now, and then we're right back at it. Coming back to talk with the Attorney General's office, Liz Murrill joins us next here on Talk 107.3.
We just had a break now. We're going to be live again in about 5-ish minutes. If you want to stay in line and hold, you can, or if you want to call back and just hold as well. But yeah, we'll have you on with us.
I'll be back in like 3 minutes, y'all.
Just want to give her the option at least. Yeah.
So I had 2 interviews canceled on me for today. Yeah, or 3 actually. Well, 1 unconfirmed that just said I can't do it, and then 2 that canceled. We were supposed to talk to comedian Dusty Slay today. He got COVID. All right, I need 1 more second. I gotta go.
Real quick.
Yes.
Don't flame me for this. Vincent Jackson, is he a notable person?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wide receiver for the Chargers, or former wide receiver, I think. What?
He died in February 15th, 2021.
Oh wow. Wait, are we talking about the same guy?
Vincent Jackson, wide receiver, named for his first Pro Bowl, representing San Diego Chargers in 2009.
Yeah.
He signed with the Bucs in 2012.
Yeah.
He died like a year ago.
Dadgum.
It's his birthday today. You want me to write that?
Yeah, why not? I mean, yeah, why not? Did I throw away my Tigers in the crap? Found it when I went to go grab the thing off the printer. I'd left this next to the printer because I'm a dumbass.
Real quick.
Yes.
So there's a lot of holidays to talk about, and the last one I thought was pretty funny, but if I'm not allowed to say it on air, then you can tell me that now. It's called Feast of the Ass Day. It began as a medieval Christian feast and commemorates the Israelites' flight into Egypt.
Why would you not be able to?
Am I not allowed to say ass on air?
You're not allowed to say asshole. You can say ass, you can say hole, but you can't say asshole.
That's
I know. Yes. Yes. Apparently, and I learned this the hard way. You can say slapdick on the air and not get in trouble.
So like
I learned this when Condon and I were doing coronavirus coverage. We brought Gordy in to talk about something, and he's like, "What are you two slapdicks up to?" And I'm like, "We're live. We are live."
I mean, I did student media before I came here, but like the rules there, I'm assuming they're the same unanimously. But like, I'm student media, so I just avoided cussing on air at all costs. And
Yeah, we try not to.
There's like no point. Why would I try and do that? I don't think according to this conversation, I had no idea that I could even remotely say some of this stuff on air, and it's okay.
No, what you can and can't say is different than what you should and shouldn't say.
That's fair, yeah. I guess I'll figure that out one day.
Yeah.
Hopefully without learning the hard way.
Yep. Six 652 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. So I think it was right at a week ago, our own Solicitor General Liz Murrill talked to or argued in front of the Supreme Court, but I guess she did so remotely, talking about vaccine mandates. President Joe Biden wanted to have a mandate for any company with 100 employees or more to have to get their employees to have to get vaccinated. Our Attorney General has sounded off on this repeatedly. Liz works in the Attorney General's office and joins us now. Good morning. How are you?
I'm great. Good morning. How are you?
Doing very well. Glad to have you back on. Glad to be talking about this. Kind of a big win. Kind of a big deal, huh?
Yeah, it's a big deal. It's like 80 million people are covered by this rule. So, I mean, there aren't too many times, I think, when you see such an impact in Supreme Court litigation on so many people at such a personal level,
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, absolutely. And at the same time, while 80 million people would have been covered by it, another 40 million would have been ignored for those working for employers who have fewer than 100 employees.
Right.
So, which really made the whole thing very arbitrary on its face. So, you got to argue.
There were lots of reasons that it was arbitrary on its face.
Oh, yeah.
That was one of them.
Walk me through the process and what your role was.
Well, so the states have been, and we have been involved in challenging all of these federal vaccine mandates. There are collectively 4 big mandates and challenges that are pending, and we are leading 3 of them. And so I was up there arguing the healthcare workers mandate, and my colleague from Ohio, Ben Flowers, was the lead for the states arguing the OSHA mandate case.
Is this your first time in front of the Supreme Court of the United States?
No, actually, it's my 5th.
5th, wow. So how big of a deal is that for an attorney? I mean, because like if you're a kid growing up wanting to play baseball, then you're always picturing yourself in the batter's box in the bottom of the 9th of the World Series. Is that about the comparable level? Is that like something that you dream of as you're making your way through law school and up the ranks?
It's such an experience that is unavailable to most attorneys in their lifetime that you don't even really ever envision that. I mean, it's really very small group of people, mostly lawyers concentrated in D.C. who have clerked at the court, who really regularly get to do that. It is one of the benefits of the job that I have. I think it's, the Solicitor Generals across the country do get to argue at the United States Supreme Court because there are a lot of issues that involve states, and with that, so we may not necessarily be there because we chose to be. Sometimes it's criminal cases where we're up there and the court has decided to grant cert and hear some criminal constitutional issue, and that's been true of 3 of the 5 cases that I've argued.
Liz Murrill's our guest. She's a state solicitor general. She was in front of the Supreme Court virtually now. That was it. So you've argued in front of the Supreme Court 5 times, in person versus virtual. Like what's the atmosphere like? What's the vibe? Is it like a pressure cooker? Is it like do you feel like you're under a spotlight, or what?
You do, yeah. I mean, it's and certainly the first time for everybody is really, really stressful. And, I think that you always feel a lot of responsibility to do a good job and to make a credible presentation and for the state. I mean, that's who you're there to represent and the people of our state. So, but it is, I mean, it's very stressful. I mean, now that I've done it 5 times, I'm getting a lot better at it. I'm a lot less stressed out about it when I argue. I've done arguments by phone twice now. That's obviously, less pressure because you get to hide into you're surrounded by your own office. So you're not under kind of the hot light, but it's like speed dating. I mean, you're there, it's really fast and
really?
Everything it's mentally intellectually very challenging because it's so fast.
So when it comes to the speed, though, is that just the overall amount of time, or do you have to kind of shift on the fly? Like, how much is prepared versus how much is extemporaneous?
Well, it's a little bit of both, but I mean, to the extent that there's extemporaneous, it's really just, being able to answer, being flexible enough to answer and listen to the questions they're asking and answer those questions. But there's an enormous amount of preparation that goes into that. Like for the June medical case, I mooted that case 9 times. I routinely moot these cases at least 3 times, and that's with local lawyers, but with D.C. advocates who routinely appear before the court. And so they put you through your paces, and they ask you, they role play. They really try to ask you every question that you might get that's prepared for the questions that are coming. So while you do need to listen and answer the questions that they're asking you and be responsive to that, and I think kind of the next level of training and being able to do this really well is not just answering their question, but it's pivoting back to the points that you want to make and get those points out. And like one of the things one of the experiences I had on Friday that was that you just kind of can't anticipate is that we were in this weird hybrid model where it wasn't exactly the same as the telephone arguments that we did last year because there were people in the courtroom. The Chief Justice kind of changed the process at the last minute, even for the phone arguments. And so at the beginning, there was a little bit of dead space while I was trying to see whether somebody was going to ask me a question or not, and I didn't want to talk on top of them. But, I had to kind of pivot pretty quickly to just like, once you get the ball, you run with the ball until they tackle you.
Absolutely.
And that's, I think, a different kind of practice. Like, you just got to keep talking to get your points out.
So, and along with that, though, I would imagine a lot of this has to stick to the letter of the law and not play on emotions. I mean, here, out in the public, an emotional angle plays every bit as much of a, perception becoming reality as the facts and the letter of the law do. With the Supreme Court, I would guess it tightens up a lot.
Yeah, it does, and it doesn't. I mean, I think, a lot of these cases are kind of boring statutory interpretation cases, or the arguments themselves may seem pretty boring to the general public. Friday's was different. I mean, Friday's argument definitely had much more of a personal element that I think needed to be emphasized more, and I did do that when it came to me. It isn't as theatrical, like it's not like television, really. I mean, it's very much you're engaged with 9 people on the bench, and when you stand there at the podium, for me, everything around me just sort of fades to black because I'm trying to answer those 9 people, and I need to corral 5 votes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really, it is definitely trying to. Some of them are driven more by some of the emotional element of it. At least in the vaccine mandate cases, I think that's true.
Yes.
But usually you're arguing over could be some pretty minute issues of law or procedure at that level that can be, completely dispositive on your case. And sometimes that's not a very rewarding listening experience for people. They want radio energy, and they're not necessarily going to get that when you're talking about subsection EXI-9 of the Medicaid Act.
Yeah, you're trying to garner 5 votes. One of those votes, though, is going to be coming from a fellow woman from Louisiana. I mean, you just like wink at the camera and be like, "You got me, girl," or what?
They're pretty dispassionate when they're engaging with you from the bench. But I was grateful to see that Justice Barrett joined the the conservative justices in both of those opinions that came out yesterday. She so far has been pretty reliably, I think a reliable vendor of the state's ability to kind of keep governance at the state level, which for me I think is really, really important in preserving our ability politically to engage and protect our people and have them have a voice in governance.
Well, job well done. You represented Louisiana very well, and we always appreciate the efforts, and we always appreciate the time. Liz Murrill, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Have a great day.
Always. You do the exact same. We are super late for news. It's 7 o'clock. Wow. I wasn't letting that go, though. That was so much fun. Oh, did I forget to mention that Haggai has COVID? I guess I could share that with the YouTube audience. Yes, sir.
Jay, what you doing? Not much. Hey, dude.
Yeah.
I got this thing. I'm gonna go over stats about addictions. Okay,
Mhm.
and it's good shit. And at the end, it's about John Bell being addicted to press conferences. How about this one, Coach? Are you kidding me? Let me get this right. Hey, they got a 1-week conference going on over Southern about helping Haiti.
Oh,
Coach,
no.
Yes, I can't wait to go off on that. There's no reason to go to Port-au-Prince. Just go around a block.
I mean,
Coach.
Coach.
And this EMS shit. I played the theme from Rocky. Inspirational quotes. All these freaking niggas are calling EMS because of COVID.
So, okay. No. 8:15. 8:15. Look. Soundbite number 4. Soundbite number 4. I think it's number 4. It might be number 5. Where the shit is it? People, no. Kids in hospitalizations, number 3. Okay? Yeah, there's more kids in the hospital right now, but there are fewer people on ventilators, and the time in the hospital is shorter. I understand parents being overly concerned, because I'm a parent of 3. I would get overly concerned, too. Right. But the second my kid coughs, I'm not freaking out and calling the hospital.
Hey, you know what?
What?
Now, I'm being sarcastic here, okay? Don't you dare come down there and give me stuff like I'm not preparing or something about them NFL players.
Okay. No. Okay. 29 Tigers are in the playoffs. You tell me. No, I'll put you on the spot. Which team does not have one? Which team of the playoff teams, which team does not have an LSU Tiger?
I'm going to mess this up. No, I think he's still there, but I'm not sure.
Cowboys have Lyle Collins.
That's right.
And
okay.
They got Lyle and
Wait.
Jabril Cox.
Huh?
Cowboys have Lyle Collins and Jabril Cox.
Yeah, I would have. That's good shit. Yeah, I would have missed it.
And then there's somebody. There's page 2. The only one without a Tiger is the Green Bay Packers.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Which they had. Who was the kid from John Curtis? That
just irrelevant.
Yeah. No, wide receiver from John Curtis went to LSU. It was wide receiver. He was with the Packers for like a year, then the practice squad, and then now he's not even there anymore. He went to John Curtis. Oh, snap. Name started with an M. Malachi Dupree. Do what? Everybody who's on the sheet is on the sheet. Everybody who's scratched out is the cancellations. You know what? I still have to get in. Which one am I behind on? Mooyah. I did Hope. New Hope.
New Hope, 1977.
.706 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Hour 2 coming your way right now. Thanks again to Liz Murrill, our Solicitor General. She get 5th time in front of the Supreme Court. I mean, that's a lot of times in front of the Supreme Court. Oh, I don't know. Relatively, I don't know. I legit have to completely plead ignorance on that. I have no idea how many times is a lot. For me, 1 feels like a lot. It's a special room to be in, or a special Zoom to be on. 5 times in front of the Supreme Court, you kind of get the vibe. You kind of learn how to do it. You're like Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. All right, that might be a stretch. Not much, but still, like on a comparison level. That is the top of the top of the top of their game. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, Haggai was out this week. I'm sorry, I meant to mention this on the top end of that. We did not have Tech Gumbo this week. Obviously, by now you realize that. Yeah. The computer guy got a virus. He's all right. Haggai will be back in next week. Sorry. I know that's it's a bad joke. The computer guy got a virus. Yeah. Don't golf clap me on that one. All right, we got a lot of ground to cover this hour as well. Dawn McVea with National Federation for Independent Business is going to join us on our next segment. Why? Because inflation's kind of ridiculous right now. And when inflation is ridiculous, it hurts the mom and pops more than anybody else. I mean, mom and pop businesses, not actual moms and pops. Or the mamas and the papas. We'll talk with Dawn McVea next. We will talk with Laurie White-Adams at 7:35. Busy Metro Council meeting this week. They appointed a new interim council member for District 5. How did that play out? Also, what else got done at this week's Metro Council meeting? We'll dive into all of it at 7:35. Right now, though, we start off hour number 3. No, 1 minute from right now, we'll start off hour number 3 with top stories and trending. But I do have to ask you if you got lunch plans yet. Murrill Burgers, Fries, and Shakes has 2 locations in Baton Rouge. Segan, just north of Industrialplex, or Blue Bonnet at Highland. If you've seen a different Murrill, that's not one of the ones I'm talking about. All I can speak to when it comes to the freshest ingredients, the fresh baked potato buns, the certified Angus beef, and the top-notch customer service, I can only speak to these 2 locations. They're the ones I know and love. Segan, just north of Industrialplex, Blue Bonnet and Highland. If you don't yet have your lunch plans, make them now. Grab yourself a cheeseburger. Head into the weekend with some sweet potato fries. Pro tip, ask for some honey to dip them in. And then grab yourself a milkshake on the way out the door as well. Treat yourself heading into the weekend. Spoil yourself heading into the weekend. Get yourself a best case scenario. It's one thing to have a cheeseburger. It's another thing to have queso on the burger. It's kind of a game changer. I'm a double Diablo guy myself. I like it spicy. And I can get it spicy at either location at Murrill Burgers, Fries, and Shakes, or you can build your own from their menu. You're going to get the best burger in Baton Rouge, Segan, just north of Industrialplex, or Blue Bonnet at Highland with Murrill. Here comes top stories and trending. BRPD rolls out the blue carpet for the arrest of a teen accused of firing a gun and stealing wigs from a Baton Rouge beauty store. Police have arrested 18-year-old Janiah Watley, a woman accused of firing a gun inside of a beauty supply store and proceeding to rob businesses in early December. The owner of Jasmine Beauty Supply on Airline Highway says he confronted Watley for attempting to steal a wig from his store on December 3rd. The situation quickly escalated. She dug in her purse. She whips out a gun. Bang, bang, bang. You know where it goes from there. Authorities have been on the hunt for Watley or for the person responsible for that armed robbery since December, narrowed down to Watley. Watley was arrested. Perp walk ensued. Law enforcement's looking for a man who set fire to an apartment and streamed the crime live on social media. Oh, I know. There's TikTok clout, and then there's this. Firefighters were called to the Melrose Apartments on Cezanne Avenue around 4 p.m. Thursday. Baton Rouge Fire Department told WBRZ the person responsible was seen on video lighting a fire inside a closet. The department said the fire was contained, only damaged some clothes in the apartment. Investigators say they are still searching for the man responsible. I mean, maybe sliding his DMs. I don't know. A man was arrested Thursday on charges tied to a deadly shooting in East Baton Rouge back in late December. Javartes Armstead, 27 years old, was arrested for the December 26th shooting that unfolded on McClellan Drive near St. Gerard Avenue in the neighborhood where he lived. BRPD said Armstead shot and killed Devontae Long, he's 20 years old, or was, who lived less than a block away. Investigators believe the shooting stemmed from an argument. Armstead was booked on second-degree murder and illegal use of weapons charges. Okay. One of those there but for the grace of God stories right here. Yesterday on the Outside In, we told you about the arrest of Benjamin Beale down in New Orleans after a dismembered, headless torso was found in a freezer on his property in the Lower Nine. Well, now we learned that a woman from Baton Rouge took to TikTok to describe a chilling encounter with Beale. Mia Holden says she met Beale at the Republic nightclub in 2017. He introduced himself as Jakey Poo and offered her MDMA, which she accepted. From first meeting him, was very confident and charismatic and chill, very effeminate as well, that brought their guard down, Holden said. He just reminded me of a lot of people I would already hang out with. As the night went on, Holden and her friend stuck with Beale, eventually ending up partying inside a bus on his property. Holden says she went outside and saw what appeared to be a shallow grave in his yard. Quote, "It just looked like a grave. So we immediately started joking," Holden said. "I turned around and looked at this guy and was like, 'Are you going to kill us? Are you a serial killer?'" After that night, she never heard from him again. When she saw reports of his arrest and the grim details surrounding it, she was shocked and thankful to have made it out of his bus alive that night. I know. Somebody get Netflix on the phone. It's totally a six-part documentary. Beale, by the way, is in charge with obstruction of justice, among other things. Remains in jail down in New Orleans. Crews with the Baton Rouge Fire Department responded to a church fire in North Baton Rouge early this morning. Flames were found coming from the Good Shepherd Missionary Baptist Church located in the 2900 block of Mission Drive. Baton Rouge fire officials said they responded to the call around 5:30 this morning. By 6:25, it was under control. No reported injuries, and it's unclear at the time what ignited the blaze. This fire is under investigation. That's your top stories. Here's a look at what's trending this morning. Back to the scene of Rust, or the set of Rust, I should say. A new lawsuit accused an ammunition supplier Wednesday of creating dangerous conditions on a movie set when a gun held by actor Alec Baldwin killed a cinematographer by including live ammunition in a box that was supposed to include only dummy rounds. The lawsuit was filed in New Mexico State District Court by Hannah Gutierrez Reed, the armorer who oversaw the firearms, ammunition, and related training on the set of Rust, along with two colleagues. Cinematographer Helena Hutchins died on October 21st from a gunshot wound during a rehearsal. The Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office is leading the investigation into the cause of the death. They said it's still too soon to determine whether charges will actually be filed. Now, the lawsuit from Gutierrez Reed places blame on the ammunition supplier, Seth Kenny, and his company, PDQ Arm and Prop, for introducing live rounds to this set where only blanks and dummies were supposed to be present. Is this where you fill in your joke with, well, Alec Baldwin was there, so dummies were present? Is that where the punchline's coming in? Please. The new lawsuit seeks damages in a jury trial on allegations of unfair trade practices. Authorities have issued a search warrant for Baldwin's phone, seeking text messages, images, videos, calls, or any other information related to the movie. Those are your top stories at Trending. Quick break. When we come back, let's talk about the impact of inflation on small business. Dawn McVea joins us next. Please don't be old. Please don't be old.
says from 1/12, 2022.
Return home Thursday night. Sold. Hey, should I open the mic and say spoiler alert? Tigers win? No. I'm not gonna crap all over Chris.
I'll do it, Ryan. I swear I'll do it.
So I didn't go weigh in Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve, and then last week I went and weighed in. Was last week the first week back? Yeah. Last week I went and weighed in, and I was dead even. It was like a push. I didn't gain any weight over the holidays, which is pretty remarkable when you stop and think about it, right? Like, I didn't lose weight, but I didn't gain weight. Now I'm at that point where I'm within 5 pounds of my goal, so it's getting tougher and tougher to shed a pound here and there. I think I'm going to be within 3 pounds of my goal as of today. When I hit the scale today, like, I just, after meeting with Vicky after 3 weeks, I got back over to it, and I was like, we really like set the pattern for what's on tap for this coming week. And we walked through. I had no idea half the crap I had going on this week, so I've had a few obstacles hit me. But I'm legit looking forward to my weigh-in today. It's going to be this is food confession. That's going to be great.
Good.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, when they weigh you, do they also get your body fat percentage?
Once a month.
Okay.
It's called an in-body scan. And it's cool. Like, so you get to take your shoes and socks off and stand on this thing, and then you put your thumbs on these little sensors as well.
Like a steering
yeah,
wheel kind of
they
thing?
punch in like your body, your weight, your height, your age, and it'll spit back out all this data. Vicky gets mad at me because she says my goal's unrealistic, but I want to be under 10% body fat.
That is.
And she's like, professional athletes are 10% body fat, and I'm like, yeah, what's wrong with that? I can do that.
I mean, you can if you try hard enough.
I can do that.
You physically can do that. You just got to do it.
I'm gonna stop eating Mooyah. Never! 718, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Sorry, that never was part of the YouTube conversation. We just got back in a second too soon. By the way, if you're not watching us on YouTube, you need to. Mornings with Brian Haldane is available on YouTube. We broadcast live, but if you missed the show, you can watch it later on in the day as well. Subscribe while you're there. You'll get great conversations like this one. Inflation continues to rise. Now, the big box stores, the big businesses, the multinational conglomerates, they can all kind of absorb a little of this. For the smaller business, it's going to have a heavier impact. Just how much of an impact? Well, let's welcome in from the National Federation of Independent Business. She heads up Louisiana, Arkansas, and half of the free world. Dawn McVea, welcome back. How are you?
Hey, good morning. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well. So inflation in small business.
Yeah.
I'm almost to the point where I hesitate to even text you now because I know the news just it's like COVID sent everybody home. How long can small business stay afloat? It's like all the focus was on the restaurants for recovery. How long can every other small business stay afloat? It's getting a workforce back. It's like punch after punch after punch. Eventually, Rocky's got to cut Drago and fight back, right?
Well, at some point, right? We're just trying to stay above water, and the whole point of all of the different recovery, measures out of DC, are just going to fall flat if all of these things continue to happen. So, it's kind of time for states to take what they can into their own hands and do what they can to be sure they're sure that the environment within our state, each state, is what it can be, and kind of try to shut DC out as much as possible, and the things that are happening there that are impacting everything, quite frankly. So, inflation is up. It's the highest since 1981. That was a really long time ago.
And business is completely different now than it was then. You didn't have a Walmart on every other corner then. You didn't have Best Buy then, or whatever the box store or the case might be. You couldn't order from IKEA then. You didn't have to compete with the internet then. Business has that many more challenges today than they did in 1981. So what are you hearing from the businesses that you represent?
Well, they've put off the price increases as long as they could, and many still are holding back as much as they can. That's what they're telling us. They're trying to avoid it as much as possible. But between the labor, the rising cost of labor, our members have been increasing compensation at a pretty rapid historic clip for the past 6 months or so, and to get folks back into the workforce after all the unemployment extra money. And so you had all of those factors in there, so they've been putting it off, but it is becoming inevitable. And we're seeing a lot locally have been telling me that they're looking at about a 5% increase in their pricing. Many are looking at a double-digit ultimately increase, but they're trying to basically working through what they can. You have more owners in their locations, whether it be a shop or a restaurant. They are working more hours than they have since they started their business. That's the other issue. And so they're doing what they can to keep prices down, but again, it's becoming inevitable.
So how are they approaching that overall? And how much guidance is NFIB giving them on this? Is there just a matter of saying, look, you've got to have honesty in advertising here and ask for your community to rally? I mean, you can't duck the inevitable. So make it a team effort. Right.
I mean, at this point, I think everyone is really well aware, and I mean, everyone. I mean, you have to be living under a rock if you don't realize what's happening with the supply chain inflation and labor issues. So
right.
You really kind of have to be living under a rock in our view, but some people kind of tune out the noise, and but this noise has been happening, and it's been a steady climb. We've seen our indicators from our surveys tick up on as the months pass, and instead of ticking down and optimism moving forward and going up, it's been going down on the past 6 months when you really look at it. And so, I think we have to really all look at this as a community and say what's going on, what's happening in our community, and let's stand by our small businesses. They're doing what they can. Fortunately, in a lot of respects, there is money out there floating around in the economy from stimulus, from additional unemployment, from tax credits, from what the government has done. Mm-hmm. And that, consumer spending is still trending in the right direction. And so, but, at some point, all those things are going to go away, right? And when that does, we have to remember that our small business owners who were able to weather the pandemic and stick it out and are here for us, we've got to stand by them.
Dawn McVea heads up NFIB in Louisiana and the surrounding area as well. Dawn, is there more help for different types of industries? I know at the beginning of the pandemic, it's like every time we turned around, there was a different fundraiser or a different government help. There was different forms of government help for restaurants. That has since broadened with the American Rescue Plan. Are there certain industries that are getting more help than others? Are there certain industries that are just going to have to tough it out even more?
It seems like people are starting to recover on those fronts. I think that there's a lot of the uncertainty associated with this current Omicron surge that is really affecting folks, in the respect of, okay, are we staring at another shutdown? Are we staring, that uncertainty? But if we can get through this next bit of this surge and get on the other side of it, owners are telling us that they have their needs met as far as, lending and access to capital and all the things that, kind of keep them running on that back end and, have been able to recover in a lot of ways on the financial side. Mm-hmm. So it's really just the market kind of factors that are impacting their ability right now to be where they'd really like to be. they are, their real sales volumes have increased by, a point, not big jumps, but things are okay on that consumer spending side. So that, I think, that coupled with all of the things that were done early on have put the small business owners who were able to weather this and able to survive it, they are on good footing. They are in a good place. And I think they're ready to, they've adjusted their business model. They've figured out what works and what doesn't work, what they needed to get rid of and what they, needed to focus more on. That is the thing about a pandemic and a crisis. Small business owners take that time to adjust and assess and figure out what's next. Mm-hmm. And many were able to do that. And so from that perspective, I think we're getting good feedback there. But really, it's just the challenge between the labor force, and really the lack of qualified labor. That's one of their biggest issues right now. Here they are increasing compensation, doing what they can to increase benefits or, bonuses and that sort of thing to keep people. But on the other end of the equation, the labor quality is just not what it should be, what it has been in the past. And so we as a state really need to focus on in this upcoming session, opportunities to, get around workforce development, get around, being sure that kids have the soft skills they need to go out into the workplace. As you know, small business owners are very forward-facing businesses. They're dealing with the public on the regular basis, and so they need folks who understand how to deal with customers and also how to show up on time and how to be there. And those are important skills that unfortunately seem to be missing a lot lately.
How are we looking in Louisiana? I mean, your region within FIB covers a number of different states. How is Louisiana stacking up versus those around us?
A lot of people are having that same labor quality, our neighbors in Mississippi. We not as many troubles in Arkansas and Oklahoma. Of course, Texas is its own beast, but right. Louisiana is doing pretty good. We're really excited to see how the changes, the tax reform pieces that were adopted last year, and some of the things that have been put into place, the spending that is being discussed at the state level. The governor and the legislature made a commitment to backfill the unemployment trust fund and get us back whole so that small business owners were not facing a tax increase. That's going to be a key factor of session coming up in a couple months here. And, if we're able to do that, because everyone around us, their trust funds are fine. They already were okay, and they didn't shut down the way we did, and so they didn't have the impact that we did. So we're still behind the curve in a lot of respects, but I think we're catching up. We're getting back to where we need to be. And, investment in broadband, using those federal dollars for that is going to be a big deal to reach. I mean, not only do children need to have access to get online and to do schoolwork if they have to be in that situation again, God forbid, but business owners need quality access to broadband service. So that's a big issue for us as well, and we hope to see that continue to move forward the way it has been moving forward. But I think if we can get the unemployment trust fund built back, refilled to where it won't result in a tax increase on small business owners, that's going to be a huge factor towards recovery, because they just can't handle a tax increase right now of no whether it be $1 or a month or $2.
No, 100%. And we're not even yet to the point where we can see the effects of what went down in the last legislative session that kicked in January 1. So, but that's where we're going to have to push pause because we're just straight up out of time. Dawn McVea from NFIB, I always thank you for the time. We'll get you back on right before session to talk about where we head next.
Sounds great.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the time this morning. Coming up on 731 at Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. We're going to break for news, traffic, weather. When we come back, Councilwoman Laurie White-Adams is going to join me. A lot went down Wednesday night at the Metro Council. Let's get a breakdown of it. We have a new interim council person. District 5 has a new interim council person. And a couple of other things hit their agenda and made their way through. So we'll get a full breakdown of that next. Also, before we're done today, Governor John Bell Edwards held a press conference yesterday talking about the Omicron variant and where we are at statewide. We've got a ton of audio from that press conference coming your way in the 8 o'clock hour. Also, we're talking with folks from LSU about the Sharks come out at night. Yeah. shark attacks based off of lunar phases. It's crazy. We're talking about it later. Right now, here's CBS. Hello. How are you today? Super. It has been a morning. It's been this morning's been a full week. So I mean,
So you're doing well?
doing very well.
Good. You had a good Christmas?
Oh yeah, wonderful Christmas. Yes.
That's terrific.
Yes.
I'm so glad. How's everybody staying well and healthy?
Yeah, as far as I know, we're all vaccinated and asymptomatic, so we've had no reason to go test. Like it just and we're kind of back in our bubble now, so we're not like no, it's not. It's school, practice, home, school, practice, home, school, practice. There's never where you're aside from going to the LSU basketball game against South Carolina last week.
Couldn't miss
that
one.
But that was practice. I brought the whole my fourth grade girls basketball team. I know. I was like, look, general admission's $3 for youth tickets.
Yeah.
What am I going to teach them in an hour of practice over at the YMCA? That are they going to get more out of love of the game of basketball from here and 9,100 people screaming for girls playing basketball, or are they going to get me yelling for more wind sprints?
Yeah, totally get it. What a game! That's so exciting. I'm glad you got to do that.
So give me one quick second.
You're right. Do what you got to do.
I had 3 different interviews canceled for today. You weren't a replacement.
No, I'm happy to be a replacement.
No. You were on the original script.
Maybe.
Yeah,
that's intense.
We were supposed to have we've got a marathon on again because it's this weekend.
Yeah.
But that got hectic. Haggai got COVID, so we didn't do Tech Gumbo this morning. And then I had a stand-up comedian was supposed to be on at 8:15, and his name is Dusty Slay, and if you've never seen him, I recommend checking him out.
Dusty Slay.
Kind of like blue-collar comedy, but smarter. He's very much a redneck, but there's more of a... The comedy's not as on the nose. It's very dry, kind of Stephen Wright-ish.
Yeah?
Like redneck Stephen Wright, maybe.
Got it? That's awesome. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Do you have any particular topics you want to address this morning?
Oh, yeah. I want to start with the interim guy, and then I want to... So, I understand that there's reason behind the drive-through thing,
I know, it makes
but
you
there's
like...
no way I'm not making fun of it. So, we got to.
You're not going to hurt my feelings.
Yeah, I mean, the reason behind it is, and I experienced this the other night, my kids wanted Popeyes. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, can I walk? It's that drive-through line is blocking traffic. Mm-hmm. Blocking traffic. Mm-hmm. So, I'm like, can I go in? They're like, no, lobby's closed.
Oh, come on, people.
I know.
I know. And oh my goodness. Well, and it's truthfully, it was. I'll tell you the story, but it was all about an interview y'all had here on this radio station with Doug from Baton Rouge Bikes in the early part of 2021. Listening to him talk about the troubles that people who didn't have cars were having accessing businesses during the pandemic.
I mean,
so that was really the genesis of it.
I apologize one more time.
Great,
I'm
Ryan.
so sorry.
Nope. You do what you got to do.
All right, sorry.
No, not at all.
So in my last-minute hustle to replace 2 of the 3 segments, because I was I texted up a whole bunch of people all at once, and most of them are getting back to me this morning in the middle of the show, and they're like, "When am I coming on?" I'm like, "You're too late. Next week." So,
but that's awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
It's great that people last minute are able to come. So you got the dashboard up, huh?
I have not refreshed it today.
Oh, okay.
We're over 2,000 now, so.
In hospitals. Oh.
Yeah, I love refreshing. It's like playing Keno in Vegas. It's like you're looking for the new number,
That's so funny. I'm pretty sure we had Omicron the week after Christmas. Wasn't too bad. It was just a cold for us, thank goodness. So, Christmas Eve, I think, was a super spreader.
But it's natural that that's going to happen, though. We're not gonna go like a get smart cone of silence to distance ourselves from our relatives.
No,
we did that last year. 2081 went up by almost 100. Here's the thing, though. that difference between the number of people in the hospital versus the number of people on ventilators, I don't know that I can make this argument with any like empirical data behind me.
Right.
So it would just be like conservative rant. But I want to know how many people have gone to the hospital, not because they're all that bad, but they're worried about getting worse. They saw what happened the first 2 times around, where as soon as you coughed, you were on a path to death.
Right.
So they think that's where we're at now.
Sure.
They've been properly scared.
Yes.
So, out of an abundance of caution, caution, it's making this whole thing look terrible.
Yeah.
So.
Totally get it.
I've been cottonmouth all morning.
Me too.
It's probably COVID. 736, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. So, busy Metro Council meeting Wednesday night. A lot of ground was covered. And joining me now to talk about it is Councilwoman Laurie Wyatt Adams. Laurie, good morning. Welcome back. How are you?
Good morning, Brian. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well. We're going to get around to drive-thrus in Baton Rouge and whether or not we need to rename them. But we'll get to that in a little bit. Darrell Hurst has been appointed to the District 5 council seat. This was going to garner a lot of attention, possibly a lot of controversy. As I understand, it wasn't as heated as it could have been.
Sure.
How did it go down? How did it play out? And what's your thoughts on Darrell?
Well, we had, I personally interviewed 3 of the candidates that were up, made contact, and wanted to visit. And so, we had 3 people who were qualified, who could do the job, and who cared deeply about the district.
Yeah.
Darrell had most recently run for that seat.
Okay.
And really garnered a pretty good amount of support as a new candidate. Running against an incumbent. So I think he was the natural choice because he had already engaged with the district about these very specific issues to Metro Council. So
it made him a little more, I guess you say, rehearsed or well-versed would be better than rehearsed, right?
Well-versed and engaged.
Okay.
So he's an impressive man, a businessman, a family man, really good guy.
The quote is, "My plan for District 5 is number 1, economic growth, number 2, economic growth, and number 3, economic growth."
Sure.
For the rest of the, not asking you to speak for everyone in the council, but for coming from a different district, how much of an impact did that have? How much weight does that carry to hear that coming out of District 5?
Oh, a lot. It's great. It's what you want to hear coming out of District 5. So my husband's family lived in District 5 for decades. We certainly, understand a lot of the challenges that face that district.
Yeah.
And he has a very holistic plan aimed at, job training, recruitment, and youth programming that I think will make a difference in District 5.
School board member, is it Deidrius Lannis?
Yes.
Did not want the person appointed to the interim post to run again. They wanted him to serve out that term and then bail, right?
Right.
How much did that play into it? Because obviously that's not the way it played out. Darrell Hurst will run in March.
Sure.
How much of an impact does that weigh in, and why does an argument like that not make sense, and why does it make sense?
Right. Certainly it's one way of looking at it. My thought was that just to put someone in there temporarily, this is a difficult job. This job is way more difficult than what I knew when I took it on last January. The learning curve is tremendous. So really wanted to get somebody in there who could hit the ground running and approach it like I'm going to be here for the long haul.
Yeah.
And really make the investments in knowledge and getting to engage.
Is it unfair? Obviously, the way it played out, this is an easy question, but is it unfair to ask somebody to take the post on an interim basis and forego the opportunity to run?
Sure. It would just be a gentleman's agreement at that point. There'd certainly be nothing legally binding. We couldn't prevent somebody from running.
Well, we got a great example of how things change on the fly with the interim president of LSU. When Tom Galligan took that post, he said repeatedly, "I don't want the job long term."
Right.
But he had the social justice crisis, the sexual abuse crisis, and the pandemic to deal with all at the same time. And after a few months in the interim gig, he's like, I'm kind of getting my feet wet here. I'm starting to understand a little bit. I have a knowledge base within me now that I can continue to move forward. I said, are you looking for the job permanently? Not ready to say that yet, but he wasn't as firmly planted in the no category either. So these things evolve, and it would paint someone into a corner to make a promise they're not ready to keep.
Absolutely, totally agree. And like I said, I mean, the learning curve is tremendous.
Yes.
And I know one of the concerns that we talked about in December was, making sure that District 5 had capable representation every single moment that was possible.
Yes.
And so certainly it makes sense to pick somebody who's possibly going to serve on.
I say yes in just tacit agreement. Dwight Hudson made a hell of an argument about waiting, though. There was validity to that as well.
Oh, until
When
August?
Yes.
Oh, I was there as well.
Okay.
I mean, that was where I was. I mean, I think I like to see the elections happen in
November.
November, because people are trained to go to the polls in November. You
Yes.
get much better engagement,
Yes.
much better turnout. So I was a fan of that. But if we couldn't have that, and I understand it,
Yeah.
we need to do what's right by District 5.
Yeah, yeah. The March elections are when you want to sneak a millage past homeowners who have to get their kids to soccer.
People have no clue there's an election in March. It's very difficult to get that message
It's
out
so
there.
terrible. I hate it.
I am super engaged, and I will forget at times. It's painful.
Yes. I had Congressman Troy Carter on the other day. He was talking. He's still under the impression that we have elections every 3 weeks in Louisiana. Secretary of State's office has cleaned that up a lot, but it's still still feels cumbersome at this point.
Does.
So, I mean, last year we had March with a runoff in April. We had November with a runoff in December, and that was it.
Yes.
It was amazing.
It's manageable.
Felt
That is
great,
manageable.
didn't it?
That is manageable.
Now, that being said, when we have an election in March, school board member Lannis does make a point. It's going to feel like they're running against an incumbent.
Sure.
It's not an open election anymore. You have an incumbent and challengers at that point. Even though it's an appointee, it's someone who you will have seen on the news, someone who has held down the post. So does that give them an unfair advantage in March?
I personally don't think so. The time period is so short.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, I'm sure he's on the news this week.
Right.
But it's a very short time period. Mr. Lannis has run before. He's well known. I think it'll be a very competitive race.
Absolutely. Not to mention the fact, and this is neither here nor there, this should not be the council's business at all, but if Lannis were to move over to the Metro Council, wouldn't we be going through these same motions to fill his seat on the school board?
I have to tell you, Brian, that was really the thing
Really?
that weighed heavily on my mind.
Okay.
It was. I haven't spoken that out loud to anybody else, but I kept thinking, if we do this, we're just creating this ripple effect of more appointments and more special elections.
Right.
And all of those things create a certain level of instability.
Yeah.
And we, in Baton Rouge, at the Metro Council and on the school board, we need as much stability as possible right now.
School board right now, alleged sick out just day before yesterday.
Yes.
Like where we're at with not just the pandemic, but with trying to where Louisiana's numbers are, trying to grow back into test scores with everybody. We're still seeing the negatives of last spring.
Yes.
You know,
I'm
there as well.
is important to me. So our great minds think alike. Maybe I don't know.
Well, there's also the argument from a council standpoint. It's not my problem. You know, council attends a council, but I get that it would be like
you have to think holistically.
What are we doing here? It's a lateral move at that point.
Right.
Other business from the council the other night. The headline reads: drive-thrus in Baton Rouge are now required to serve pedestrians, cyclists, and people in wheelchairs.
That's if you read into it, if you read the ordinance, you'll find out.
It's more fun my way, Laurie. Let's just roll.
Okay.
So, do we have to stop calling them drive-thrus if they're now walk-thrus and ride-thrus or roll-thrus?
Or the old Southern, the pass-by window,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's a pass-by window. So this is actually a targeted piece of legislation. The headline doesn't read that way, but believe it or not, on this station,
yes.
I heard an interview early in 2021 with a Doug from Baton Rouge Bikes, and he was talking about the very specific and unique and painful problems that those in our city were having who didn't own a car and who used another mode of transportation. As counter service was closed in lots of businesses, people were only being served through the pass-by window or the drive-through window, and that was making people who were on bike or on foot have a very difficult time of accessing the services that they needed.
Okay, so there's a part of me. This is where the bicycling community is going to hate me. There's a part of me that says go get a car. We don't I know we constantly want to be more bike friendly in Baton Rouge. I get that.
Sure.
But it's just not who we are. The way the city was built, the sprawl that we deal with, the way that it's all laid out, the state highways versus federal highways versus local roads. Argument after argument after argument. We could work towards that, but at the end of the day, it's just not who we are.
Yeah.
That being said, as long as lobbies are closed, as long as you can't physically walk into the business to take care of business, you're completely left out in this regard. So I get it.
And not everybody can afford a car. And during my, when this
Not everyone can find a car right now.
The fair point. But I explained to the council in December, we had a young man in our life a few years ago who had hit some hard times, and he was getting himself out of a hole.
Mhm.
And his bike was actually his vehicle.
Yeah.
It was the way he did everything and got himself back into the workforce and began to rebuild his life. And so thinking about him not being able to access businesses and services that he needed when he was working so hard to pull it together certainly was in my head as well.
I think a larger problem, a problem that goes along the same lines here, lines, pun, is the lines. Like when you see, if you're adding to the number of people in drive-through line, we're already seeing drive-throughs backing up traffic. In fact, probably the worst, it's not their fault, the worst offender right now is the Popeyes on Government. Like, no, seriously, with the between the road diet and the way people are going after fast food right now, Government Street is completely blocked. One direction for Popeyes, the other direction for churches, and then it happens again by Raising Cane's, and that's by North Foster. Wow. We're seeing more and more people getting more and more fast food right now, and I don't think there's actual numbers on it yet, but it's causing a traffic backup, and a lot of that is due to the fact that nobody's opening their dadgum lobby.
Right.
Like, so it's a catch-22, right?
It is a catch-22. I'll tell you this, there's no penalty attached to this, so if a business cannot find a way to safely do this, or a way that they feel comfortable doing with this, there's not a penalty to it. But we do hope that it sets it as a community value that we want for everyone on all modes of transportation to be valued in this community. And then we also hope that, in the future, as businesses look at renovating or consider their operations here in Baton Rouge, that they'll consider that they're going to get people come up in different ways to want to access their business.
So as a PSA, as a public service announcement for the folks, when you see someone who's just walking up on a drive-through window.
Yes.
I mean, just be patient. Just understand that they're there because they can't walk inside.
Absolutely. And I think, as traffic gets worse and worse in this city, and as we get, more congested and more urbanized, we're all going to have to be more patient. We're all going to have to be more aware of our surroundings and really watch out and take care of each other.
What else went on Wednesday night? What did I miss? We got 2 minutes left.
Well, Bayou Manchac.
Oh my gosh!
Bayou Manchac.
I covered that one yesterday. Forgot all about it.
Yes, huge. So exciting. Baton Rouge is technically piggybacking off the contract. We were running into some procurement and contract snags, and we realized that we could piggyback onto the contract that Ascension already has.
Yeah.
And so we're ready to roll. So really excited. It's one of those moments where you see government be flexible and nimble and make a really wise pivot. And so we've made that wise pivot into the way we're going to get this done. And so it's coming, Brian. It's coming.
It's one of those ones where, yes, you could see that pivot, but at the same time, though, you're going to notice it when you don't have more crisis down the road.
Yes.
A lack of crisis is the win. It's like you never hear about you never hear about offensive linemen until they hold.
Yes,
exactly. This is similar to that.
Absolutely. So, and hearing from residents who live out there and see the bayou every day, they tell me it is not. It is chock-a-block full. It's not flowing.
Yeah.
And this absolutely has to be done. So this is the outfall. This is one of the things that's holding water in our parish. And so once this is taken care of, I mean, there's still a lot to be done.
Oh, 100%.
But this is a big piece of the puzzle.
It is. And you can't ignore any piece of the puzzle when it comes to this because it's like a big game of Jenga.
Yeah.
The wrong piece makes the whole thing crumble. Yeah. She is Councilwoman Laurie White Adams. We always appreciate the time. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you, Brian.
Absolutely. We got Your Money Now coming your way right now. After that, we'll step outside of East Baton Rouge Parish for the Outside In. That's next on Talk 107.3. Kill the mics for a second. Did you take a picture of me and Laurie? What? Don't you use it? Yeah, but text it to me as well, please. All right. 7:55 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. So, greatly appreciate Councilwoman Laurie White Adams' time. Gonna have to get Hurst on. New councilman, interim councilman Darrell Hurst very, very soon, repping the District 5 seat. Economic growth, economic growth, economic growth. It's what all of Baton Rouge wants to hear, is it not? Well, drainage, 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 lower crime, lower crime, lower crime. Yes. But from a council's perspective, absolutely, that's where we need to be. Drainage is being addressed. Infrastructure being addressed. Crime's kind of out of their hands. So, yeah, let's turn to economic growth. Because if you want to fund the projects you've got going on all the other fronts, then by all means, you need the funding. And that stems from economic growth. All right, we got a busy next hour as well. Going to have a ton of audio from Governor John Bell Edwards' press conference from yesterday in our 8:15 segment. And we're talking with LSU about moon sharks. No, I know that's vague. I know it doesn't make sense. I'm leaving it just like that, just to make sure you tune in at 8:40 to hear about moon sharks. Such a poor representation. Shark activity based off of the lunar cycles. All right, a little bit better? All right, fine. Let's get to the outside in. Let's roll.
It's time to step outside of East Baton Rouge and get inside our surrounding parishes. It's about time for me to be hitting the old dusty trail. Really explore space this time. Really? Yeah. Explore the space. The Outside In, presented by BRPT Lake. With 6 locations and extended hours to fit your needs, BRPT Lake has got you covered. Schedule online now at brptlake.com. The Outside In is coming your way now. Get out of this town! And go where? Where are we gonna go?
We start in Ascension Parish today. A Santa Maria High School student's under investigation after allegedly bringing a gun to campus yesterday. According to a news release, quote, a discipline investigation led to a search of a student's vehicle on campus. Investigators with the Ascension Parish Sheriff's Office report they found illegal contraband, including a weapon. Deputies say they determined the student presented no immediate threat to the campus. They were able to quickly bring closure to the matter. We might circle back on that one if we have time at the end of the segment. Next stop, Eberville Parish. The old Bayou Bro Bridge is gone. Transportation officials say it was too old, falling apart, and a sharp turn made it unsafe. Now the construction's underway, residents are concerned about evacuation routes and if emergency vehicles will be able to get through. There's a temporary gravel road that's been built for the project. However, residents say it's too dangerous to drive on, and it's always locked up. It's also for emergency and construction use as well. The mayor of St. Gabriel is asking the state to build a bridge that residents can use during construction. Work on the new bridge is expected to finish this summer, though an exact timeline has not yet been hammered out. Heading west to Acadia Parish, the state fire marshal's office has arrested a woman they say set her house on fire with her mother and child inside. Happened Tuesday in the 900 block of Jacobs Avenue in Crowley. According to the state fire marshal's office, 23-year-old Kayana Keys admitted she started the fire during an argument with her mother. Keys also lived in the home. She was booked at the Acadia Parish Jail of 1 count of aggravated arson. Her mother and a child were in the home at the time. Unbelievable. Her mother and her child were in the home at the time. Headed back to Ascension Parish to close out. Red Stick Wrestling Con, billed as one of the largest pro wrestling events ever in Louisiana, will be held March 5th at the Lamar Dixon Expo Center. Headliners are WWE Hall of Famers Diamond Dallas Page and Jake the Snake Roberts. He's still a thing? I met him in the 80s. Along with wrestling superstars Ted DiBiase Sr. and Sergeant Slaughter. Red Stick Wrestling Con, the retirement tour. It's going to be going on 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on March 5th in the 4-H building. Admission's $25 at the door. That is the Outside In, presented by Baton Rouge Physical Therapy. Let's catch CBS News here on Talk 107.3. All right. So the first Ascension Parish story we had, kids got a gun in his car. Okay, I don't know if this is going to make me a total redneck or a total old fogey, or both. But when I was in school, it was a regular thing to have your gun in your car. I mean, this was growing up in Covington, high school in the early 90s, right? Money Hill was not this posh subdivision. It was where you went hunting or where you went drinking and you told your parents you were spending the night at Brent's house. But that's a whole other thing. God, I hope my mom's not watching. 45 years old. I don't think the statute of limitations is passed. Anyway, half the kids in my class had their hunting rifle in their back window. Like, as long as you left it in your car, you were fine. It's such a different vibe, right? He had a gun in his car. Yeah, he didn't bring it in. I'd be curious to know if that's still the rule at St. Paul's. I highly doubt it. You have a rifle in your car? Yeah, I have a rifle in my car. I was hunting before school this morning. What's up, Rich?
Now look,
what?
I know you're a lot busier than me because you got kids. Mine are grown and done.
Yeah.
But look, I want to throw an idea out at Jay Parker, but I want you involved. So before I throw it to him, I want to make sure you're in.
Okay.
Are you in?
I don't know the idea yet. I'm in, Rich. It's you. I'm in.
Well, when you asked me to help you move, did I hesitate?
No, you were there
Exactly
before I was
right.
up.
Exactly right.
I answered the door in my boxer
exactly
shorts.
Right. So I feel like you can reciprocate. By just
Absolutely.
Saying,
I'm in. I'm in.
I'm going to give you a choice, though.
Okay.
I'm talking to Jay. He's going to get with Gordy. I already got sponsors. Look, here's what I want to do. I want to do a podcast with you.
Okay.
Okay?
We need to.
And we're either going to play Light Bright or Battleship. Which one you want?
Talk to him about playing poker.
I am, man. I'm taking care of one thing at a time, okay? All right?
Okay, so we got to play Battleship.
Just weigh in and mark it down, and I'll be back with you. Yeah, go ahead.
We got to play Battleship. Believe it or not, this is a good idea.
Podcast.
Yes, this is actually a good idea, Rich. You have no idea the level of entertainment
We'll
that
call
can
it
come
the
from that.
early evening shift.
I don't care if we play dominoes.
How you like my name? I love you, brother.
Love you.
And you know what? You
What's the
just
poker
summed
game?
up. You can't claim being from New Orleans. Well, we were in New Orleans. We didn't have no gun racks in our trucks. That's Mandeville. That's the North Shore.
First
You
of all,
are-
whoa!
Wow.
Don't you Mandeville me. It's Covington.
Coach, I got a good idea. This is not sarcastic. I want to do this. Seriously.
Yuppie bullshit.
No, check
yeah.
this out. Like on a Thursday, I know we'll adjust to your schedule, like 6 to 8 or something like that.
Okay.
Seriously, in the downtown, in the conference room downstairs.
Yeah.
Coach, you, me, T-Bot, just a little poker game right there.
On camera?
Exactly.
YouTube?
Huh?
Oh, no. It'd be
Coach,
like
that's
the
awesome.
worst World Poker Tour ever, and it would be so much
because
fun.
we used to play.
It wouldn't be about the
when
cards.
people were
Yeah,
young.
yeah.
Every Thursday night, we go to my buddy's house. We get a bunch of us and play poker.
Yeah.
one night. You in?
Yes! Dude, that
Are
would
you going to be able to record an early evening shift and then play poker? Shit, you got it in you. I'll run the varsity sports
We'll call it-
and get you some goo.
Rich and his goo, ladies and gentlemen. Rich is just flinging his goo all over the place.
Out of glue. God's decision.
Oh, shit. I don't know what to do with that. Hey, who was on the phone? You went like this afterwards?
Oh, it was dead air. It was nothing.
Okay. So there are times where, and you probably should be answering that phone a lot more. If it's somebody who wants to rant. Oh, wait, shit, my bad. Get out. That was my fault this time. I don't know Daryl Hurst yet. I've yet to meet Daryl Hurst. But if I'm talking to Laurie White Adams about Daryl Hurst, and Daryl Hurst is listening, Daryl Hurst might call in, and I would appreciate that contact. Or if it's Dangerous Lannis and he wants to argue, yeah, hang on, I'll put you on next. Yeah. Like I do. The beauty part of having a local news outlet to have local conversation is fights can brew up at any time. And it's like it would be really good. It would be good for Baton Rouge for the conversation overall. It'd be hella good content, but it's good for the conversation overall to have a local news outlet. And if we're not answering the phone, then we can't serve that. But the problem is, 90% of the time you answer the phone, it's like, Brian's killing 37 people a day by not wearing a mask on the air. Like, it's that guy. So it gets in the way, but it is, yeah.
It is still needed. The last time we talked about this, and I have
I think you're far enough along now.
I would hope so.
Well, if you're not,
Maybe
we got to have a talk if you're not.
Yeah, I can do that from now on. I just didn't really want to.
Yeah, and even if it's as simple as talk 173, please hold until you have time to go back to them.
Okay.
That's fine too. Because we can respect that there's a call there, but the callers got to respect that we got jobs to do as well.
Yeah, so I kind of got turned off from answering calls during live because when I was hosting with Patty G,
Yeah.
I accepted a call and I just said talk 173 and some dude just said.
Haters are always going to be out there.
It was just really.
806 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. We are over 2,000 COVID patients in the hospital right now, but how bad is Omicron? We'll talk about it in our next segment. Covered John Bell Edwards held another press conference yesterday. We're back to weekly on the press conference now. In fact, at the end of it, he said, look for us again next Thursday. Actually, what he said was, and I appreciate his programming notes, because next Wednesday at 2 p.m., you'll hear Ask the Governor live right here on Talk 107.3 FM. It's nice when the Gov uses his press conference to promo your content on the air. You know? Ask the Governor. Next Wednesday, 2 p.m. Hey, we're going to get you into this day in history in just a minute, but I do have to take a second to tell you about the folks over at the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet. 2 locations, 4065 Florida Boulevard, or the corner of Jefferson and Hoosier 2. Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet, I'm pulling up the sales now. Here we go. Twin gel memory foam mattress, $149.99. A full gel memory foam mattress, $199. Tax time's right around the corner. If you want to start mapping out what you want to do with that tax refund, if you want to go ahead and file your taxes and know what you got coming in front of it right now, boom, Mattress Outlet's got you covered. Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet's got you covered. Name brand queen size mattresses are regularly $8.99. They're now down to $3.99. A king you can get for only $5.99. California King mattress and the adjustable base that goes with it, all packaged together on sale for $24.99. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Oh, no, wait, hold on. My apologies, I read that wrong. Regularly $24.99, marked down to $9.99. I'm over here thinking that was a good deal at the regular price, $9.99 while they last. Everything that's in stock, you could pick it up or they could deliver it today. That delivery is free if you mention you heard about it right here. If you drop my name, your delivery is free. 2 locations of the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet, 4065 Florida Boulevard in Mid-City, or the corner of Jefferson and Hoosier 2. All right, time to roll back the clock. Time for this day in history.
Good morning, everyone. Hope you're having a great Friday so far, and if not, hopefully this brings a smile to your face. 1690 is where we're starting things off. The musical instrument. Shout out to the clarinet, because it was invented in Nuremberg, Germany, this day.
Really?
1690. Didn't know that.
Tom Clarinet.
Yes.
Not really.
No,
That'd be great, though, if it was, right?
Imagine that.
Yeah.
1914, we're going way into the future. The Gandhi-Smuts Agreement is reached between General J.C. Smuts and Mahatma Gandhi regarding voluntary registration, poll tax, recognition of Indian marriages, and other matters. 1943, World War II. Casablanca Conference begins between Winston Churchill, Franklin D. Roosevelt, and other Allied representatives. A lot of history stuff here.
Yeah.
1956, Little Richard released the single Tutti Frutti.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
And 1960, U.S. Army promotes Elvis Presley to sergeant.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Also, wait, that was 1960?
Yes.
This day in 1973,
What happened?
Elvis's Aloha from Hawaii premiered on TV.
Mm-hmm.
Biggest TV audience for a live event, I think, up until that time.
Huh.
Also on this day in 1973,
What happened?
Super Bowl VII. Super Bowl VII. The beginning of the worst era in the history of ever.
I don't understand.
Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum, Los Angeles, California. The Miami Dolphins, who went 14-0 in the regular season and won 2 playoff games, beat the Washington Redskins 14-7 in the Super Bowl to become the only undefeated team in NFL history. And to this day, as teams are undefeated, they will fly around the country to celebrate losses as they get ticked off the list. I hate them. Everyone hates them.
Why? Why do they?
Because it's poor form. It's bad sportsmanship.
Wait, because they didn't lose a game?
Not because they didn't lose a game. It's because they celebrate other losses.
Oh.
A team is 14-0, 15-0. Going into the last 2 weeks of the regular season, they decide to bench their starters so they're not hurt for the playoffs. And there they are, the 73 Dolphins, toasting away. Yes, we remain the elite, the only ones undefeated.
Ah.
Jerks!
Fair enough, then. That's all I had for events, actually, so we'll get right down to birthdays unless you got something for me.
So it was on this day in 1990 that the TV show The Simpsons premiered.
Oh.
It was during Christmas time of 89 when, or was it 88, when The Simpsons premiered as part of the Tracy Ullman show with Santa's Little Helper in the original episode. But it was on this day in 1990, the first season of The Simpsons premiered on television.
Makes sense why I didn't see it.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I guess that's all the events. Let's get right down to the birthdays. First up, rock and roll legend Dave Grohl, 53.
He's one of the coolest guys ever.
Oh, for real.
I love that guy so much.
Have you seen videos of him like bringing fans on stage
Yeah.
to play with them?
Yeah.
Have you seen Kiss Guy?
No.
Dude, you and everybody
Wait,
tuning
Kiss
in right
Guy.
now. Kiss Guy. He brings up this guy who's probably in his early 20s who's wearing full-on Kiss paint, like Kiss face
To
paint.
a Foo Fighters concert?
I think so, yeah. And he comes on, he plays Monkey Wrench with them.
Love
It is
Monkey
one of
Wrench.
the greatest, it's probably the greatest fan performance I've ever seen in my life. Everybody listening, it's on YouTube. You have to watch it. But first, obviously, subscribe to Mornings with Brian Haldane on YouTube.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then after that, check it out because it is something that's just going to make you happy. It's just good. Carl Weathers turned 74 today.
Yep.
Shout out to Apollo, and he's also in The Mandalorian, so shout out to him as well.
Oh, that's right. He is in The Mandalorian. He's good in The Mandalorian.
He's very good. I really like his character. Jason Bateman turns 53.
A.K.A. Marty Bird. Countdown is on. New season of Ozark. Gotta be soon.
Isn't it the 21st?
21st.
It's it's 1 week from now.
Yep.
Vincent Jackson. He passed away recently, just this last year, but he was a former wide receiver. He was born on this day in 1983. You got any birthdays for me before I get down to the deaths and holidays?
A couple of tight ends born on this day. C.J. Uzoma, who will be catching passes from Joe Burrow this weekend.
Shout out to him.
And James O'Shaq Hennessy, the Jaguars tight end.
Very nice. A lot of tight ends.
You mean O'Shaughnessy? You done messed up, A.A. Ron. Sorry. Also, LL Cool J.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. That's a solid shout. Happy birthday to all those mentioned. One death I have written down to note.
James O'Shaughnessy is really not worth mentioning. I could do the Key and Peele thing with the O'Shaq Hennessy.
Fair enough. Right. Alan Rickman passed on this day in 2016.
Hans Gruber.
Well, also Severus Snape.
It took him that long to fall from Nakatomi Plaza. Too soon? All right, moving on.
Holidays. There's some weird ones today. National Hot Pastrami Sandwich Day. Fun fact, National Cold Pastrami Sandwich Day is probably next Tuesday.
All right.
It's Take a Missionary for Lunch Day. I'm going to move on before you make a joke. I see you, Brian. Just you keep that comment in your pocket. Organize your home day. People organize their homes. I'm doing the same thing today. It's National Dress Up Your Pet Day. And finally, so apparently I can say this on air. It is Feast of the Ass Day.
Yeah, it is Feast of the Ass Day.
Shout out to those celebrating Feast of the Ass Day.
Please give the origin of Feast of the Ass Day so that
I don't want to
you read it back to me earlier.
It's a celebrating of like a Christian holiday. I didn't have the page pulled up. I wasn't ready.
Okay.
I just wanted to say the word ass.
Meaning donkey. Donkey!
Yeah, it's a Christian holiday that was originally celebrated in France, if I'm not mistaken, in the mid-1600s.
Yes.
That is this day in history.
Quick break. When we come back, Governor John Bel Edwards held a press conference yesterday talking about the Omicron variant. What do we need to know? Are mask mandates coming back real soon? Spoiler alert, no, but we'll tell you the rest next.
I thought the exact same thing that you were thinking of when I said take a missionary for lunch day.
5 a.m.?
What order do you want this in?
Yeah, sorry, I got distracted with something there. It's going to go 3. Three, 1, 2. Mm-hmm. Oh, shoot. It's going to depend on... Three, 1, 2, 5, 6, 4.
If that changes,
Yep.
what does it depend on?
Time. I have notes that I need to get to along with them. I just... Oh, how's YouTube been this morning? I've been so, I got more crap going on off the air this morning than...
This has been a busy week, during the show. You've been running all over the place.
Yep. Okay.
Is the doctor joining us in person or no?
Phone. Oh, so much to unpack out of YouTube. So 818 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. So much to unpack from YouTube comments. I've been all over the place this morning, and a couple of them coming in towards the end of last hour. One of which I will address, and that is from the outside in. So the kid in Ascension Parish who is under investigation because he had a gun in his car. Look, my school, that was not a big deal. Now, I don't know, I can't remember, did I say this on air or on YouTube? This makes me an old fogey or like a hick from the country, but at St. Paul's in Covington in the 90s, kids went hunting before school. So they would just come straight to school from going hunting. And you leave your gun in the car, you're fine. Yeah, it's in the student parking lot, yeah, but it's over there. It's locked up. It's behind your front seat, whatever. I think the rule was you couldn't leave it out and visible. But it was, I was hunting this morning. Oh, okay. We good? Yeah, we good. Moving on. Anyway, Galen says guns and trucks in the high school parking lot was a non-event in the 70s. No one paid any mind to it, but people are crazy now. Yeah. Yeah, and I guess the real issue here is it's not so much that the gun owner might not be crazy, but the person who hears about it might be. So everyone's in the game now? I don't know. Anyway, that's from last hour. This hour, we're talking about the Omicron variant. 14,932 new cases reported yesterday. 11 new deaths reported yesterday. 2,081 COVID patients in the hospital. Yes, we have re-eclipsed 2,000. And from the governor's press conference yesterday, he did remind us that this new number passes up last January surge. You'll remember we did have a surge last January coming out of Christmas when we were getting back into school, back to work, and all that stuff out of the holidays. That surge got grossly eclipsed by the Delta variant. But where we're at right now, based off of sheer volume, where we're at right now, the hospitalization numbers have passed that one up. And it's not just grown-ups in the hospital. Governor John Bel Edwards letting us know that this time around we're seeing more kids in the hospital as well.
The CDC is also reporting a record number of children hospitalized across the nation right now with COVID, and we're certainly seeing that increase in COVID hospitalizations among children in Louisiana, and that includes 0 to 4-year-olds as well, people who are too young to even be eligible for a vaccine. Last week, looking at the latest week of complete data and the week of January the 2nd, 92 children were admitted to the hospital with COVID in our state. That's higher than we saw during the Delta surge.
Yeah, it is higher than we saw during the Delta surge. But, and I ask this with all respect to the overall pandemic, okay? If you've got 2,081 people in the hospital and only 129 are on ventilators, are the rest of the folks in the hospital, is their turnaround time that much better? Are they going home that much sooner? Is it that much more severe? When we had, I can't remember which doctor we had on last week. It wasn't Dr. O'Neill from Monday, who was fantastic, by the way. There was a doctor last week reminding folks not to go to the hospital to get tested. Is that still in play here? If we've been properly scared of the pandemic, is that still in play as well? Now, keep in mind, I'm asking that with all respect to the severity of the pandemic. You have 14,900 plus new cases, you're going to have folks going to the hospital. You have 14,900 cases of anything, you're going to have folks going to the hospital. Now, that going along with that, we're back up over 2,000 people in the hospital. Just from a sheer number standpoint, we can't afford to have too many more back in there. The governor took some time to address what honestly sounds like a Tide Pod trend. Folks are actively getting COVID so they can be done with COVID at this point, allegedly. I haven't heard about it in my life. I haven't seen it on my social media feeds, but this apparently is a thing worth the governor talking about.
I will tell you that is not a good strategy. You don't want to get COVID, period, because even the cases that are referred to as mild will make you feel sick, and very sick in some cases. It means that you can probably manage your symptoms at home if you have a mild case, but we have seen many, many cases where symptoms have persisted for a very long time. And it isn't like if you choose to expose yourself and contract COVID, you can also decide which or how severe your case of COVID is going to be. I mean, you just can't do that. You do get to choose, however, whether you have the best possible protection against being hospitalized and dying, and if for the reasons that I mentioned earlier, that does mean being vaccinated.
The governor continued talking more about getting it yourself.
You remember we used to talk in terms of flattening the curve, and that's so that too many people don't end up with the disease all at once, because that's what presents so much pressure on the healthcare delivery system that it just can't manage. And so you have to extend the time horizon over which people will be positive for the disease, but also you want that number to be as low as possible. Because that's how you protect the capacity in your hospital system. And so it's very irresponsible and dangerous for an individual, based on what might happen to that individual should they contract COVID. But collectively speaking, it's a very dangerous situation for the state, too, if that happens. And we know that Omicron is much more transmissible, so we are seeing record numbers of cases anyway.
And therein lies the rub, right, on the back end. It's not about the percentage of people who are going to the hospital. It's just the base number of people who are going to the hospital. And it honestly doesn't – if you go to the hospital because you have a slight cough versus you go to the hospital because you need to be put on a ventilator, and there's a range within there, right? But the overwhelming number of them, 14,932 cases yesterday, that number is just based off of volume going to be problematic. Now, are we almost done with this surge? I mean, we've been told this thing's spreading so wild, so fast, and you see it in South Africa, and you've seen it in Great Britain where it's dissipating as quickly as it got here. Well, the governor's current proclamation is due to end, I believe, next week. Are we going to see a mask mandate in the near future? Because 14,932 new cases reported today, that doesn't sound like it's waning just yet. What's to come from the next proclamation? Are masks about to be on their way back just in time for Carnival?
You all are probably aware that the current proclamation of a public health emergency here in Louisiana expires on January the 19th. You can clearly anticipate that I will continue to issue a proclamation. We'll do it on or before the 19th to continue the public health emergency, obviously, with the situation that we have. At this point, I don't expect any changes with respect to mitigation measures and so forth, but that's certainly possible. We're watching more than anything else hospitalizations, and that along with other things, but principally hospitalizations will inform our decisions going forward. And obviously, I look forward to recommendations that come from our team at the Department of Health, and also looking at recommendations that come from CDC.
No expected changes as of right now. Now, obviously, everything can change from day to day. I mean, if we see hospitalizations jump from 2,081 up to, let's say, 2,500 over the course of the next half a week or so. Like if we reconvene on Monday and we picked up another 300 over the weekend, another 100 on Tuesday, another 100 on Wednesday. Well, 2,500 is narrowing in on 3,000, and 3,000 was where we're at during the Delta variant. And quite honestly, that had a lot of folks scared. And that might change things. But as it stands right now, no. The governor is opting to leave us to our own personal responsibility statewide. Now, as he has said repeatedly, from city to city, municipality to municipality, local is the way to roll. So here in Baton Rouge, Mayor President Sharon Weston Broome said we do not have a mask mandate, nor do we intend to in the near future. Down in New Orleans, a bit of a different story. I'm looking up at the time. I'm keeping an eye on the time. We have a caller on the line. Frank and Zachary has a COVID question. Frank, hang tight for one more second. Got to get one more in from the governor. And this is about input when it comes to the potential of a mask mandate. This was a question asked of the governor along with the governor's answer on masks. Cut 6, please.
Have hospital leaders asked you to reinstate a mask mandate?
No. I believe I have another call with all the hospital medical directors next week. We do those periodically. Now that's with me. The team at the Department of Health talks to them just about daily. And I will have another call with all of the Tier 1 hospitals from all 9 regions next week to see how they are doing in terms of their capacity, which it really is a function of a number of things, right? It's not just the number of COVID patients, it's the number of total patients that they have, but also the number of staff who might be out at any given time. And if you have a record number of cases, then you can assume that there's a fair number of doctors, nurses, respiratory therapists who are also at home because they have Omicron. Now, the good news there is the vast majority of those people are vaccinated and boosted, and then they'll be able to come back either at the conclusion of the 5 days or shortly thereafter. But
honestly, good information there, but I could have ended that after he said no, right? Hey, Frank and Zachary has a COVID question. Frank, what you got, man? Welcome aboard.
Hey, thank you. Listen, I heard with my own ears and saw with my own eyes Dr. Fauci last week admit that COVID numbers, hospitalization, was it mistakenly including people who had gone to the hospital for an unrelated thing and gotten, say appendicitis, for goodness sakes, or a broken arm,
right,
and been tested as part of the admission process, and that they had COVID. Those are being counted as COVID hospitalization.
So I don't know if that applies on a Louisiana level. From Dr. Fauci's perspective, he has been the most dangerous place in America right now is between Anthony Fauci and a camera.
Well, that's my whole point. Is if this guy's willing to admit that that was a mistaken thing, and that, I don't want to say inflated the numbers of hospitalizations, but I mean, dude, I'm sitting here with COVID right now. I had it last January, Delta variant.
Yeah.
I got 2 shots and a booster last year, and now I have Omicron.
How you feeling?
I want to play golf, okay, because I'm not going to come in contact with anybody.
Hey, everything's safer outdoors and any excuse to play golf, but go ahead.
Well, I mean, I won't be with anybody else. I'll be completely socially distanced. I'll be, dozens of feet away from anyone, and it's crazy. It's my golf cart. It's so I just don't understand how this compares to a bad flu season.
Okay,
and just numbers wise, because we don't track the flu like we're tracking this thing.
100%, or pneumonia, or strep throat, or any of it. The problem is a lot of those, and flu does cause death from time to time, but not in the volume that we saw with the Delta variant and whatnot.
Well, that was Delta. That's exactly my point.
You're right, and the problem is everything about this has been reactionary from the start, and I will always err to the side of. I will defer to the experts as often as possible, but Frank, I think you make a fantastic point that when the experts are in the spotlight for this long and information changes but the narrative remains the same, you start to question the narrative overall. Listen, I hate to self-promote, although I love to self-promote. I interviewed Dr. Catherine O'Neill on from Our Lady of the Lake on our Medical Monday segment this week. I highly encourage you to go listen to that interview. And I highly discourage you from continuing to follow the national narrative. Frank, if we learned anything from this, it's trust what's local. The closer you can get to home, the closer you can get to your doctor, the more likely you are to have the best advice.
Well, I listen to all of it because I'm really interested because unfortunately, quote unquote, science has been politicized, and it's really scary.
Well, to hear a much more reasonable narrative making its way out, even with or without a mea culpa of, hey, we erred to the side of caution before, but we're kind of righting the ship at this point, I'll take even that. Just at least taking your foot off of the fear pedal is enough for me. In the meanwhile, hey, enjoy your golf game, and I appreciate you doing what's responsible by playing 18.
Thank you, man.
Thanks. Appreciate it. We're super late for news. We blew right past CBS, but I knew Frank had a good question that I wanted to get out there. We're talking Sharks in the Moon next. All right, what do you think, YouTube? Calls? No calls? You like it? You don't like it? I kind of tested the water the other day with the Dave Ramsey books, and I was like, you know what? I might try this again. Now, that was completely unsolicited. But I checked him out during the break, like, just to make sure it was guided and I knew it was going to be on the right path and it wasn't, a crazy person. He sounded reasonable. Of course, I was working the phones on the Ed Ogeron show the night the caller got through, so maybe I'm not the best gauge of what's reasonable. But I'll take it. All right, I got to get back in here for one more. Okay, Anna says yes, calls. Call. No one will know. Galen from late last hour. I do not understand why parishes don't clean waterways continuously on a rotating basis. For instance, Bayou Manchac should be cleaned every 5 years or so. Dedicate funding. We live in a swamp. Okay. Now, there's the land of should and the land that is. Galen, I think you and I would be neighbors in the land of should. But You know, dedicating funding to this would be an increase in property taxes for us today. Why? Because they're not going to take it away from anybody else. And it sucks. Where are you going to take it from? Well, show me the books on the library. They're pretty well stocked right now. They're pretty well funded right now. You hate literacy for poor people. Well, show me the books on the Council on Aging. How's that? You hate the elderly. Michelle. Double tag. You know where the narrative's going to go as soon as it happens. Right, Galen? I find it infuriating. Ever infuriating. Give me 10 seconds, y'all. I got to run across the hall. Hotline. Dr. Midway, how are you, sir? Doing all right. This is Brian. We're in our news break right now. Give us about 2 minutes, and we'll be right back at it and keep you till... Yes, it will. All right, hang tight. 10 minutes tops. Well, we're out by 8:50. Hard break at 8:50. So, all right. Thank you much. Hang on to cut 4. I might close out the show with it. Okay. Okay. .838 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Looking like we're going to get to the mid-60s, upper 60s today. Tomorrow we've got rain in the forecast. Sunday is going to be cold. That's your brief, your abbreviated forecast. Right now we're heading back to the hotline. Got to welcome in Dr. Steve Midway from LSU. He's been part of a new study. The headline on the press release reads, "Under a Moon Spell. Shark attacks are related to lunar phases." Dr. Midway, good morning. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you on here. I've got to start with probably the most obvious question. Did you discover were sharks? Like werewolves, but were sharks? Like they come out in a full moon now?
I haven't heard that one yet.
Okay.
And I wouldn't go quite that far, but
okay.
you know, we're looking at all the factors. a potential list of factors that may be related to shark attacks, and we found that there could be some subtle factor of the phase of the moon.
Hey, so how does the moon play into? Well, first of all, let's start with the basics.
Yeah.
Does this mean people are swimming in the open water at night?
No. Yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot of sort of disclaimers to the study here. First of all, is shark attacks largely don't happen at night. That's not to say there hasn't been one. Shark attacks happen primarily during the day and daylight when people go to the beach.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're not driven by nighttime light or lunar illumination. It's not really a full moon effect. Rather, what we think is going on is that the moon affects the Earth and its oceans in different ways, right? One obvious example is through tides. So the moon's gravity influences tides, and tides affect the movement and dynamics of coastal waters. And with that movement, bait fish move around, sharks move around, people surf waves, all kinds of things happen when tides happen. So there's a chance that there could be some kind of effect, from the moon on tides. A second thing that we know a lot less about, but is potentially interesting, is that the moon can also exert an effect on the Earth's geomagnetic activity. So the Earth has an electromagnetic field around it that moves and sort of responds to different things. And the moon is thought to, and again, this is an early area of study, but the moon is thought to exert some kind of effect on the Earth's geomagnetic activity. Well, we know sharks can sense electromagnetism. They can respond to it. And so we're not able to connect those two dots, but we can at least say there's two dots there that, we should continue to look at.
Okay, so what are you looking at with those two dots? Like, what guesses, what ideas are out there? And bear in mind, we understand these are all possibilities and nothing definitive.
Sure.
But predict where the path might head.
That's really tough to do at this point because we just don't know that much about the moon's how the moon influences the Earth's geomagnetic activity. There's evidence that it does, but that field of study is really in its infancy. Again, we know that sharks can detect and respond to electromagnetism, but that is also sort of an understudied area. So I really don't have any good guesses as to how those two things could potentially modify shark behavior and or create a situation where a human and shark encounter would be more likely. All we're really able to say is there's these two things that could be connected, and the next steps for our group or anyone would be to sort of parse that apart and see what might be under the hood.
Are there other animals you can look to as comparables for this? Is there something you can have a side-by-side with? Now, granted, it'd probably be pulling us out of the water, but we howling at the moon. We hear about it from coyotes or whatever. Are there other animals that have put you down this path?
Yes and no. I mean, the moon and the effect of the moon can obviously affect terrestrial and aquatic critters, and there's plenty of evidence for that happening. Shark attacks are a really sort of unique phenomenon because we just don't, humans don't have that many interactions in nature that have such a unfortunate and sort of dramatic and traumatic outcome. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to sort of pinpoint another activity or another human nature interaction like that. But there are ways that we can there are examples where we can look to, again, the terrestrial and aquatic biota, the critters across the world, and say they're responding to the moon. One of the more obvious ways is to look at, for example, corals in the ocean, right? They respond to different phases of the moon during their reproductive cycles. It's clear that they're, sort of queuing up some really important habits that they need to do in life to survive to the moon phase.
Now, this is a team up. This is a partnership or collaboration with the University of Florida as well. What's that partnership been like?
The partnership has been really great and productive so far. So the University of Florida and the Florida Museum has they house what's called the International Shark Attack File, and that is really the world's premier account of shark attacks across the globe. They are the shark experts, and you probably should be talking to them instead of me. But I've worked with them for a couple years, and we've worked on some analysis projects to try to understand trends in shark attacks. Are shark attacks increasing or decreasing? In this case, we're looking at what the factors may be, environmental factors like the moon, whether that may play a role in seeing more or less shark attacks in certain areas. So it's been a very productive and fun collaboration. Obviously, LSU and University of Florida, we compete at least one Saturday a year on the gridiron, but we get along pretty well when it comes to sharks.
I was going to say, usually when LSU and Florida have to collaborate on something, it ends up with us losing a home game because of a hurricane. But that's maybe I'm just bitter.
Right.
So this is not just inter-university, but interdepartmental as well. You go back to the effects of the moon on the Earth and on the water. Are you cross-departmental as well, or is it all marine-based people within this?
Right now, the group is fairly small. It's myself, and I'm in the Department of Oceanography and Coastal Sciences at LSU here in Baton Rouge. And the folks I'm working with are directly and indirectly affiliated with the Florida Museum and the International Shark Attack File. So the primary collaborator of mine is Dr. George Burgess, who's the emeritus director of the International Shark Attack File. He's since retired, but remains somewhat active in this field, and he and I, talk a lot and try to come up with ideas to better understand how to document and hopefully how to, better understand to avoid human-shark interactions.
The International Shark Attack File, compiled over a 55-year period from 1960 to 2015, our perception of sharks and shark attacks have just evolved greatly over that same period of time. What are some of your takeaways about where we're at, just as far as the way we see sharks in the water?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a tough one because there's a lot of different viewpoints out there. Humans kill millions and millions of sharks in fishing activities, and many sharks we just don't know, many shark species we know very little about, and the ones we do know about, they're in many cases threatened because of exploitation. Mm-hmm. They're caught, they're harvested, or they're caught and they're released as bycatch. So really, I hate to say it, but sharks are the ones who are not doing very well, and in many cases, need better protections. But going back to your question, sharks, how people view sharks, I think that there was a fundamental change. I know there was a fundamental change in the 70s when Jaws came out. Many people hadn't thought much about a shark attack until they, sat in the movie theater in 1975. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, that incredibly, incredibly rare phenomenon, and which remains rare to this day, has become something that lives in the minds of many people when they go to the beach. Yep. And that's unfortunately unwarranted because the number of attacks and fatalities is just minuscule. You're much more likely to die driving to the beach or having a heart attack on the beach or, any number of other many more common outcomes. Mm-hmm. But, nevertheless, in the 70s, there was that fundamental sort of mentality, social mentality that changed and really overplayed this risk of shark attacks, over-dramatized it. So, we've been... we as a human race have been kind of struggling with that to sort of understand the fact that sure, it's a risk. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but it's overblown. Yeah. How do we weigh that with the actual? How is the actual risk compared to the perceived risk? And I think in the last several years, decade or so, we've seen sharks enter into the mainstream a little bit more in terms of, the science of sharks and Shark Week and ways that we can understand that, hey, this is their habitat, this is their, the coasts and the oceans are their domain, and we want to peacefully coexist with them.
I promised I was getting you up by 50, but I'm going to keep you for an extra minute on top of that. Dr. Steve Midway from LSU is our guest. Sure. We're talking about sharks in the moon. Interestingly enough, you brought up Jaws, and that's what's been in my head this entire time. The opening scene of Jaws, the first attack, some teenagers skinny dipping under a full moon. Sure. It kind of spells it out for you right there. You brought up Shark Week, and I'm glad you did because I'm an absolute nerd for this. Y'all got a film crew following what you're doing? Because this sounds like great content for the Discovery Channel.
No. Unfortunately, what I do is a bit more boring than being, on a boat and studying sharks. We are primarily looking at this historic data. So I find it to be quite interesting because we're looking at, over a half a century of shark attacks, shark attack data, comparing it to what's going on in the environment, comparing it to the human population. We're really trying to get at long-term trends and long-term effects and environmental factors. And that means you can't necessarily go out and study something on one day. Again, we're looking at 50, 60 years worth of data, but that's not something that any one person can go out and collect.
Now, give it a soundtrack and a blurry underwater camera, and I'm telling you, you got a show, man.
Yeah, a little red corn syrup in the water, and you're all set.
He is Dr. Steve Midway. Oh, hey, last one before I get you out of here. Is there a particular type of shark that y'all are focused in on?
No. Typically, in the shark attack file, we will have the shark species involved, and that really varies by location. So the West Coast, you see more white sharks. On the East Coast, you see more bull sharks and spinner sharks. And so we kind of look at all of them, and we do look at species sometimes, but we're not particularly interested in one species.
Okay. It was curious to me as to whether or not it would affect different those that have different migratory patterns and where they're at and all that other good stuff. So anyway,
do you mind if I ask a quick question?
Go for it.
Out of curiosity, can you think of the animal that kills more people in one day than sharks kill in an entire year?
Animal that kills more people in one. Well, I mean, if you're counting a human as an animal, that would be us.
No, I'm sorry. The non-human animal that kills more humans in one day than sharks kill in a year.
I'm gonna say snakes.
Good guess. Mosquitoes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Right. So those little.
I can't make a movie about that.
A lot of those aren't happening in the U.S., but nevertheless, those tiny little mosquitoes we all just swat around. They're doing a lot more harm to humans than sharks are.
100%. He is Dr. Steve Midway. I'm gonna keep your number, man. We gotta get you back on as this progresses. I nerd out every Shark Week. I love the growing change of perception from the opening scene of Jaws to today. How we've kind of we've morphed in our beliefs as well. So I appreciate the time and the input, man. Fascinating stuff.
You bet. Call anytime.
Absolutely. We'll talk to you soon. That was way too much fun. Way too much fun. Kind of took him for a sideways trip when I said where sharks. But, we righted the ship, pun intended. Hey, quick break. We'll close it out next. Is that what I couldn't read your lips. Okay.
For those tuning in on YouTube, I guessed it right in my head. I said mosquitoes because I thought, they carry a lot of disease. And, it's kind of deadly. And I got it right. So I'm as smart as a doctor at LSU. I can say that now. That's on my resume.
All right, going back to Galen real quick. You say it's a matter of priorities. I understand, Galen. I understand. But please just acknowledge the reality that your priorities and my priorities don't match what shows up at the polls. It would be nice in an ideal world. It would be really, to be able to show that, hey, we could save the city this much money down the road, but an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right? Anyway, did Gordy already leave? And then I saw him. I thought I saw him heading back the other way. So I think my oldest daughter is going to go into marine biology because I've made her an absolute addict of sharks as well. It's you weren't producing for me during Shark Week. Oh no, I was on vacation during Shark Week last year. I remember watching Shark Week from an Airbnb in Washington D.C. I straight up love me some Shark Week. Oh crap! He's talking about the lunar phases. The wrap-up show is Shark After Dark. That's what I needed to do. Fail one more time this week. Yeah! You too, Rich. When are we playing Battleship? Hey, Chutes and Ladders. Let's go. Oh.
We can go Light Bright, we can go Battleship, we can go Candyland.
Light Bright's not a competition,
We
though.
can go Mousetrap. We
I
can
can
go
do
Hungry
Mousetrap.
Hippo, but that's on the younger side.
It is. Plus, it's too much background noise. You couldn't.
No, I tell you what we got. I got it. Done.
Connect 4.
Done.
What?
Nope. Get a little table, coffee table, number 2 pencil. That's the 50-yard line. We're playing football, buddy. Paper football. Like we used to do during recess.
My English teacher at St. Paul's.
Awesome? How'd you kick your field goal? Did you kick them like this, or you kick them like that?
Finger on.
Yeah, but did you
tilted.
kick it like side?
Tilted. Oh, no, tall waist. Tall waist.
Always,
Yeah.
Get more distance.
Come on.
Get more distance.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I was kicking it out of the back of the end zone before that was cool.
So, but we also played where you were on a table and you'd flick it on the table and you didn't score unless it like half of it landed off the table.
Yeah.
That was the field goal was the extra point. So.
All right, dude. Well, I'll see you, big. Have a great
All right,
weekend.
Rich, later on.
I'm gonna go get me a good craft beer and unwind, man. No IPA? Nah, not today.
I swear. So good. I don't know how I lived without Rich down the hall for so long, right? Oh my goodness. If you're not watching us on YouTube, you need to be and subscribe while you're there. It's Mornings with Brian Haldane. So every so often during the break, Condon pops in, and it's just the most randomness ever. But it's also the best ever. So, speaking of the YouTube channel, got YouTube bonus content coming your way today, and it's not me and Rich talking about playing paper football. Senator Bill Cassidy is going to be on board 10 minutes from right now. 3 minutes from right now, we have to sign off and turn things over to the Fox News Rundown. So let me get back to the governor's press conference. There was one more soundbite I wanted to address. We're at a point now in the pandemic and vaccinations where you probably start asking yourself, is anybody still really taken at this point? Like, is anybody still on the fence at this point? Turns out, yeah, minds are being changed every day.
I do have hope, however, about the vaccinations because every day there are people who are changing their minds and they are rolling up their sleeves. They're getting their first shot. People are getting boosted. And quite frankly, it's not in the numbers that we would like, but the numbers are considerable. And I don't know what causes people to change their mind. It could be that they lost someone to COVID or they've seen someone who's close to them have a very severe case. Maybe they know that their kids are going back to school and that they want to protect their kids and they want to be protected from kids who maybe not eligible for vaccines. But whatever it is the right thing to do, and I would just encourage people to do it.
Sound off on our YouTube channel. If you were a long-time holdout who changed your mind, why? Why did you change your mind? Did you just give in and say, you know what, I'm done fighting. I'm done fighting. Did your employer suggest something? If you were a long-time holdout, what changed your mind? I'm curious. It's like trying quinoa, you know? You can put it off as long as you want, and then you realize it's actually pretty good. I'm not eating that. I don't even know how to pronounce it. And then you eat it, and you love it. I think what we'll find, and this is pure conjecture, I have zero numbers to back this up, is a lot of people just wanted to wait, and a lot of people had a you go first mentality. Well, let's see how this plays out. November 2020 was when the first vaccinations rolled out. I think we have more than enough data under our belts now to look around and see it wasn't really a health problem. What about the myocarditis? No, it's not. Anyway, hey, that's what we're going to call it on the air. Fox News Rundown's coming your way next. Brian Kilmeade. Senator Cassidy's going to be on with Kilmeade, by the way. Dave Ramsey, Jay Ducote will drive you home, and then Go Rouge at 6 o'clock tonight. As for our YouTube channel, stick around. Senator Cassidy's coming up next. If you're not following us on YouTube, I just posted up the link on Twitter, or just go to YouTube and look up Mornings with Brian Haldane. Otherwise, have a great weekend. We'll see you Monday. All right. The Senator will be calling in 5 minutes from right now on the hotline. And yes, we will be here Monday. No, Martin Luther King Day is not an on-air holiday. just to get it started.
You know how to shut off YouTube stream, right?
Yeah, I think so. Wow. Look at that. Not as tight as I'd like it. 45 years old. Haven't made one of these since I was about 15. A 30-year gap in between paper footballs. That's not bad. Huh? Let's see how she flies. Oh, let's see if we can go right at the camera. You ready? Oh! I hit the mic. I hit the mic arm. I hit the mic arm. Damn it. It's not. There's not a little weight to it, is there? It's even, to be sure. There's just not a whole lot of weight. Yeah. Yeah, they're right there. You get the mic arm too. Blocked! Blocked! Now, let's see this one more time. One more time. It's been forever since I've done one of these, so. Ooh!
Whoa!
Wide right! I got under it, though. I got into it.
Yeah, you did. That was some real, like, that hit the ceiling pretty much.
Yeah. All right, last one. And then I'm going to bring this down and leave it where Rich can see it on Monday. What did that look like on camera?
I don't know.
I'm going to see. I might do one more here. Where am I at here? Oh, I'm way back in the show. Damn it, boy, I'll tell you what. All right. I'm going to do one more just so I can watch it. You ready? Watching myself. It's very Inception. Ooh, it almost landed in my water.
If that wasn't there,
I think it would have come down on it, yeah. I'm so out of practice. Oh! You can see it come down. Watch one more time. Okay, one more time. Last time, I promise.
Fine.
Last time, oh, wait. Shit, that's the senator. I got to hold on for the paper football. There's the senator. Hello? Hey, Sean, what's happening? Yeah, no, you just call in. We're good to go. It's so we'll be live on YouTube and recording for playback Monday. Good deal, man. Thanks. All right, one more. I keep saying it's the last one. This one's the last one. It's low. That went straight at it, though. Let's see if it made the camera. You can barely see it. I'm getting there, man. I'm narrowing in on it. You know what I just realized? A habit I had playing basketball as a kid and just about everything I do in life or have done in life. And you make fun of me for it all day long. I don't care because it's just something I've always been made fun of for. I stick my tongue out for everything. I'm like the Michael Jordan of paper football over here. Higher. Boom. No, too low. I'm getting the distance now, though. All right, now I'm hooked. All right, I gotta find that in between there, where I get a little bit of height, but I don't send it all the way to the ceiling. Oh, I bet that one looked good. I'm calling it. I'm calling it with that one. Now, I bet you that one looked good. Watch. Oh! All right, quality video right there. We gotta keep that around because Rich will be in 6:30 on Monday. Where do I put this if the afternoon guys won't throw it away?
Talk 173.
Oh, shit.
Good morning. How are you? Doing well, thanks. We're going to be, as you know, recording. We'll reach out right now, okay? Please hold.
Oh, shit. I'm falling all over the place. Yeah, as soon as we're all up and running, absolutely. I'm not hearing me yet. Oh. 1 2 1 2. There I am, and there the senator is. We good? We rolling? All right, Senator Cassidy. Good morning. How are you?
Hey, Brian Haldane. I'm fantastic. How are you?
Doing very, very well. So we are doing a little bonus content for YouTube, but at the same time getting ready for playback on Monday morning. So let's get down to it. Time to welcome back to the show, as we do so often and love to do so often, Senator Bill Cassidy. Senator, good morning. How are you, sir?
Brian, fantastic. Good morning to you. Stay warm, brother. Stay warm.
Yeah, absolutely. It's it keeps fluctuating as it does in Louisiana. How bad is it up in D.C. right now?
Yeah, it's going to snow this. It's going to snow this weekend. It's going to snow. Brian, are we trying to stay kind of agnostic as to the date? You want to start that over?
Yeah. How bad is it up in D.C. right now?
It's not bad, but it fluctuates here too. And by the way, I hope you get back to Louisiana ASAP. A bad day in Louisiana is better than a good day in Washington, D.C.
Especially during carnival time, to say the least. I mean, the parades they are coming. We got a lot of business to tend to before we can get down to carnival time, and I've got to start with inflation. This was a growing topic last week, and pardon the pun, and I have a feeling it's going to continue to be on the rise this week. From your perspective, from your chair in the Senate, what can be done right now, short-term versus long-term, to help fight off inflation?
Yeah, short term, the administration should pull back on some of the spending they're proposing.
Mm-hmm.
It is no accident that they put that $1.9 trillion COVID relief package in March, passed on a party line vote, and they flooded the economy with lots of free money. And believe it or not, more money chasing fewer goods ends up with inflation. Secondly, it is also we have poor workforce participation. Unemployment is low. There's a lot of folks just sitting home. And so one of the things that is apparently putting a constraint on the economy, on goods being provided, is that folks are staying at home and not working. So there's not somebody to move goods around. And lastly, short term, they need to do a better job with the pandemic. If somebody is in quarantine and can't go to work, then it helps if they can go to work. And they've done a miserable job with the pandemic. Long term, the bipartisan infrastructure bill is going to address infrastructure needs in Louisiana. That's ports, it's highways, it's rail. That's going to help long term, but we need something short term too.
Talk about the unemployed for just a second. Not unemployment, but the unemployed. The supplemental benefits ran out a while ago. Are people just still riding out cash on hand, or we haven't seen the full on? We're seeing demand continue to trickle back in, but when are we going to see everybody finally just get up off the sofa and get back to work?
There's statistics out there that folks got bank accounts that are fatter than they've ever been before, and because of that, they just feel like they can stay home a little bit longer, and that's just resulting as it has resulted. People staying home a little bit longer. Now, by the way, sure, it's great to have a vacation. On the other hand, we know that if somebody lets their work skills rust, not only do they lose seniority, but they also lose kind of the fighting trim that makes you a better worker, therefore less likely to be promoted, therefore less likely to make more money in the future. So, yeah, it's great people having a vacation, I suppose, except that for their own self-interest, statistics show that folks end up worse off the longer they are unemployed.
I don't know how I missed out on this gravy train. Like I've been working the whole time, and my bank account's not fatter than it's ever been. I feel like I'm left in the lurch here, Senator. I don't know what to do.
Well, that may be the bunch of kids you have, man. You know what I'm saying?
You know what?
Thought
That's
about that 12 years ago.
That is true. That is true. Hey, I had a conversation last week with Congressman Troy Carter about voting rights, and he and I are completely on different sides of the fence on this one. The voting rights bill that's been filibustered and whatnot, where are you at on not just the filibuster, but the bill itself?
Well, first, I oppose this voting rights bill, which is more about Democrats taking over, federalizing, if you will, how state and local government runs their elections, which gives Washington D.C. more say so in a municipal election in Livingston Parish than the local officials in Livingston Parish. I oppose that, and I will also say I strongly favor the filibuster. We just saw the height of hypocrisy. Democrats are saying the filibuster undermines democracy in the U.S., and yet they just filibustered a Ted Cruz bill that would put sanctions on Nord Stream 2, a pipeline that Russia uses to bring natural gas to Europe. Mm-hmm. Russia wants to build this pipeline to undermine democracy in Ukraine. So they use the filibuster to support Russia, but they want to get rid of the filibuster here in the United States. There's a lot of hypocrisy in Washington. This is like a lot of hypocrisy in Washington.
Well, and this is one where everyone's on the record at some point, right? I believe I was looking it up last week. Over 300 filibusters of Trump nominees from 2016 to 2020. You can't filibuster, and then when it doesn't please you, you just flip sides of the argument.
By the way, Mitch McConnell points out that Republicans have always supported the filibuster, even when we had control of everything. And his point is, and it's a valid point, what goes around comes around. If we had gotten rid of the filibuster and we had everything, then they get everything, and guess what happens? Our country whipsaws back and forth. And so it's kind of hard, Biden's finding out, to get people who are conservative to agree to your agenda. But it can happen. We did the bipartisan infrastructure bill, which has lots of things conservatives like. Mm-hmm. And so it can happen. They just don't want to go through the effort.
Speaking of the bipartisan infrastructure bill and the difference between that one and the Build Back Better Act, which is seemingly dead in the water, which are we going to see more spending in that regard? Is there going to be more attempted, or has the other side just decided, okay, we're starting to lose these battles, we need to take our foot off the gas?
Well, I don't know what they're going to do with Build Back Better, but it does seem as if it's dead. Mm-hmm. Now, the bipartisan infrastructure bill, there's a lot coming down for that's going to benefit our state, our nation. In a sense, we're going to be employing people instead of giving them money to stay unemployed. And that's going to be something that's really good. But as regards the BBB, and by the way, this is not accidental. You may recall, Brian, way back when we had a conversation, I pointed out that when you pass the bipartisan infrastructure bill, it takes away all the good things that could encourage someone to vote for the BBB. You take out the good stuff, as one of my Democratic colleagues said, if I get my dessert first, why do I eat my spinach?
Yes.
The infrastructure was the dessert. The BBB was the spinach. He wasn't going to vote for the spinach. So that said, the strategy worked. We're getting roads and bridges, but we're not getting BBB.
Senator Bill Cassidy is our guest. Got a couple more minutes with the senator. I got to go back to something you mentioned a little while ago, but I want a deeper dive from you on it. That is a press release your office put out last week. Cassidy votes to support sanctions on Russian Nord Stream 2 pipeline. What was your reasoning behind this, and what are the effects, not just on the U.S., but on Louisiana specifically?
Yeah, so Nord Stream 2 pipeline, the Russians are building it to Germany. Uh-huh. They would like to provide all the natural gas for Europe, but when they do so, of course, it puts Europe at the mercy of Russia. And when Russia produces their natural gas, by the way, they have all kinds of emissions. So it's environmentally like the worst way to produce natural gas. Now, what I prefer, for geopolitical reasons, let's cripple the Russian economy by not letting them export that natural gas. By the way, we can provide that natural gas All we have to do is continue to produce America's resources in the Outer Continental Shelf, in the Haynesville Shale, etc. We can send our natural gas over there, creating American jobs, using American environmental standards, lowering greenhouse gas emissions instead of raising them. And did I say it helps decrease Russia's ability to cause problems around the world? So there's a lot of good things about it. As I also mentioned earlier, in the hypocrisy of hypocrisy, Democrats used the filibuster to kill a bill that would have put sanctions on the Nord Stream 2.
I don't understand being in favor of a Russian pipeline and against American pipelines. That doesn't sound like it's anti-oil. I can understand an anti-oil stance, right? I would understand wanting to get rid of oil as an energy source altogether more than I would understand saying, I don't want oversight, I don't want American jobs, I want to leave this up to somebody else to benefit off of, profit off of, and not allow me to check and make sure they're doing it right. That to me is the part that doesn't make sense.
Well, so you can also look at it differently. There is an incoherence in the Biden administration's energy policy. On the one hand, they do everything they can to limit production of United States energy resources. They don't allow Canada's the pipeline to Canada to come down to the Louisiana refineries.
Right.
But when gas prices go up, they beg OPEC to put more oil out there in the international market. So they don't seem to understand if you decrease supply, you're going to increase price. And if you want to keep ourselves from having to beg OPEC, then you produce America's resources. There's a lack of coherence in what they are doing.
And this ties back into our foreign oil dependence to begin with.
Absolutely. By the way, we can have energy security in all of North America, between Canada and the United States. We can produce enough oil and gas for our two economies and export around the world.
Yes.
Now, we still may bring in some, but that's purely a swap of our sweet crude out of Louisiana going to an unsophisticated refinery in the Caribbean, but we taking heavy crude because our refineries and our workers are so good. So, but there may be a swap, but if we had to, we could be totally self-sufficient. And the Biden administration is sacrificing that.
Senator Bill Cassidy, our guest, for just a couple more minutes. Before I get you out of here, Senator, I got to ask you about, I came across this, and I'm not sure if it's true or not. There was a report, I don't remember where I saw it. The Boston bomber got a stimulus check?
The Boston bomber got a stimulus check.
What?
So the first time there was a stimulus package, somebody told me, criminals got that. And I thought, no, that can't be right. I investigated. Sure enough, they did. I asked about it. And they said, well, that was a mistake, oversight. We tried to get this money out fast. So I put up an amendment that would say that if you are convicted, you can't get a stimulus check. And Democrats were the ones that defeated it, using the filibuster, by the way. They defeated it using the filibuster, and they would not allow it on there. So now the Boston bomber got a stimulus check, as well as your rapist, your murderer, etc. The victims' tax dollars, in a sense, went to give stimulus checks to the people that victimized them.
I don't understand it, and it's another example of money just being flung around from a ready, fire, aim perspective that brings us right back to the top of the conversation, which has led us to the push demand inflation that we're seeing right now.
Absolutely. There's so much free money out there, including for inmates. You have limited goods. With more money, you're going to have inflation. The Biden administration does their best to deny that, because really we were doing pretty well with all the money we put out there until we got to their American Relief Plan in March or so. And that's when that just final extra dose, boom, things took off.
Can I put my senator on hold and talk to Dr. Cassidy for just a second? I've got a COVID question for you.
I'm a gastroenterologist, brother, so bend over.
That's the wrong kind of plume, sir. Whoa. So with Omicron variant, this has been touted as, I shouldn't say touted as, but hoped for a flash fire more than a sustained burn. Is it looking like that's still trending that way, or you're worried a little bit in the back of your mind that this might have a little more staying power?
Omicron will flare out. There will be another variant. This virus is not through with us yet. And so it's not like you're in a fight and you get somebody down, but they're really bad.
Mm-hmm.
You don't give up the fight because you have them under control. You keep after them. And this Omicron variant, it's going to peak. It's going to begin to recede, and something else is going to come along. So, so we just have to never let down our guard. We need to do everything possible to control this virus. Get vaccinated, get your therapeutics out, do whatever you can to prevent it, because people who've already been vaccinated are getting infected with Omicron. Now their disease is not as bad, but they still get it. But if you're elderly or I have a friend who's had a liver transplant or a heart transplant. He cannot go out because he's immunocompromised. He cannot go out because he's immunocompromised. Someone else just passed away, a Capitol Police officer. I asked about it. He was on chemotherapy for bone cancer. So, yes, he's been vaccinated, but he's immunocompromised because of chemotherapy, and he died. So this is going to be something that we just as a doctor now, we just cannot let up. We have to go after it, go after it, go after it.
He is Dr. Bill Cassidy. He is Senator Bill Cassidy, and we always appreciate the time, sir. Thank you for hopping on board.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Brian.
Later. All right, YouTube, this is going to be kind of an awkward exit because my producer has already left, so it's going to be like me walking around to turn off the camera. Y'all have a great weekend. We will be at it Martin Luther King Day. There will be one segment where you hear this exact interview over again. Also, as it is Martin Luther King Day, we'll have a couple of different things in the works. I can tell you, I did an interview with a guy who's got a new podcast. Wait, was that on YouTube? The MLK tapes? Wait till you hear this one. The term conspiracy theorist is a trigger warning for this guy, or a trigger for this guy. You're gonna want to be on Monday. Please subscribe, share with your friends. Love having you on. Have a great weekend. We will see you Monday.